this meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board, Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. At this time, I will take public comment on closed session agenda items. Speakers will have 3 minutes each. The items on the closed session agenda are as follows. Item A1, public employee performance. Item B1, public employee performance evaluation. B2, conference with legal counsel. B3, student expulsions. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on closed session items?
President Manieri, we do not have any blue cards.
Thank you. At this time, we will recess to closed session. We will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and remain standing through our land acknowledgement. Please remain standing for our land acknowledgement. And joining us this evening is Principal Allegra Bushman from Comstock Middle School.
Bear with me. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Tranel. As an Indigenous woman born and raised in Alaska and an administrator for Santa Rosa City Schools, I am honored to give the land acknowledgement this evening. I acknowledge that Santa Rosa City Schools is on the traditional territory and homelands of the Pomo people, traditional territory and homelands of the Coast Miwok people, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Santa Rosa City Schools more accountable to the needs of American Indian and Indigenous peoples.
Oh, thank you, Principal Bushman. You may all be seated. Welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Before we begin today's business, I wanted to take a moment to bring to your attention a small adjustment to today's agenda. We are moving the public comment on non-agenda items to after-hour reports as reflected in the packet. This change is aimed at enhancing public access to information, particularly our safety report, which we believe is of great importance to our community. Thank you for understanding and cooperation in our commitment to transparency and information sharing. Item C3 on our agenda this evening is report of actions taken in closed session. This evening, the board has nothing to report. Item C4, items considered in closed session for action in open session. We are seeking a motion on 3 student expulsion case numbers this evening. The first one is 2023-2402.
Move to accept the recommendation with a placement modification.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Medina and seconded by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. The next case number is 2023-2404.
Move for approval of the panel recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Sheffield and seconded by Director Flores. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. The next case number is 2023-2406.
Move to approve.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Flores and seconded by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Item C5, statements of abstention. Are there any statements of abstention tonight? Seeing none, item C6, adjustment to the agenda. Board or superintendent, are there any adjustments this evening? Okay, seeing none. Item C7, special presentations for Student of the Month and Certificated Classified Employees of the Month. Tonight, we have students, families, and school staff joining us from Santa Rosa French American Charter School. The presentations this evening will honor our students for their academics, their character, and other praiseworthy accomplishments. We will also be honoring our certificated and classified employees for their outstanding dedication and service. Joining us for these presentations, we have Principal Anderson from Santa Rosa French American Charter School, and I will hand it over to you, Principal Anderson.
Thank you, President Manieri. Hello, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Chernell, Santa Rosa City Schools community, and all these amazing administrators who are present. I'm very pleased this evening to honor our Student of the Month, Pepper Budlong. Pepper is an excellent student and a gentle spirit with an extremely talented person. SRFax is pleased to recognize Pepper as our Student of the Month. Pepper is a quiet, gentle leader among her peers. She leads by example and always strives to do her best, which invariably leads to strong outcomes. Her peers and teachers identified her as a good person for the role of safe school ambassador, and she is in the second year of the program. Her teachers appreciate that Pepper listens to directions, she's compassionate, and has humility. As one teacher stated, she has been a great example of what a student at SRFax should be. Pepper has attended SRFax since kindergarten, and some of her favorite memories include dancing at Kermesse, which is our version of a field day, and performing at our talent show. Her favorite school subjects are math and French, in which she excels. Outside of school, Pepper studies cello and piano. She plays cello as a member of the Santa Rosa Symphony Aspirante Youth Orchestra. In addition, she studies ballet and contemporary dance. Her favorite hobbies are crocheting and drawing and creative writing. One demonstration of Pepper's skills was when she went to visit friends in France and attended a French school and was able to participate and keep up. Back on campus, Pepper passed the French test of proficiency in French, called the DELF, and she passed it as a 5th grader. Her mom says that Pepper loves her school community. Pepper says getting to learn in 2 different languages is very cool. When asked what she wants to be when she grows up, Pepper shared that she wants to be a fashion designer. We won't be surprised if with Pepper's skills and personal drive, she will make it to the fashion houses of Paris, and her language skills will serve her well. Whatever she does, we are confident that Pepper Budlong will be successful. SRFax applauds Pepper Budlong for her accomplishments and congratulates her on being named the Student of the Month. We take. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our classified employee of the month, Binat Habtam. Binat began at SRFax first as a mom, then as a yard duty, and then when the position of TK instructional assistant opened up, she went for that job and got it. Ever since, she has been providing her kind, compassionate assistance to our youngest students. Her colleagues appreciate her patience and ability to work under pressure. She quickly recognizes what needs to be done and makes sound decisions about how best to assist. She is culturally sensitive and competent. Vinat is part of our multilingual staff and speaks English, Dutch, Tigrinya, and Amharic. Plus, she is learning French. Vinat always takes her job seriously. She is an excellent role model for the students and a key person in the functioning of our TK classroom. No matter how difficult the job, Vinat never complains and is always cheery in her work. It seems Vinat is perpetually smiling. She is an excellent team member and the students love her. As one colleague stated, Vinat is a tremendous asset to the TK class and the school as a whole. Vinat has 3 vivacious children who attend SRFAX, and they keep her very busy outside of school. But she finds time to cook and to swim. She loves both. The SRFAX school community is pleased to have this opportunity to recognize Vinat Haptam as the Classified Employee of the Month. I am very pleased to introduce you to our certificated employee of the month, Berengere Damali. Berengere Damali has been a teacher since 2001 and is currently a 5th grade teacher and the lead teacher at SRFAX. Her colleagues have lots of great things to say, such as Berengere goes over and above her position as a fantastic teacher. She has great communication with the students and her colleagues. She never hesitates to help students or her colleagues who seem troubled. As lead teacher, she has handled a medical emergency, implemented systems, and provided discipline. Plus, she does everything with a pleasant demeanor and a great sense of humor. Berengere quickly learned the school systems and continues to help many colleagues in addition to teaching her class. She is very flexible and doesn't hesitate to give time to assist with organizing schedules to the benefit of the whole school. She always has new ideas to improve the school. Her good mood and her reliability are sincerely appreciated every day. As one teacher said, she is a really nice person who helps me so much that I couldn't thank her enough. And another added, she's always there when needed and has great communication with students and staff. Many comment on her outstanding classroom skills, pointing out that she is a dynamic teacher and her students are always engaged. She cares about her students and it shows. Furthermore, Berengere is always eager to learn and grow as a professional herself. She feels that by having the French as well as the Santa Rosa City School professional development, she gets the best of both systems to the benefit of her students. When asked what she likes about teaching, Berengere says that it's like riding a skateboard. You have to maintain balance because you never have the same day twice, and she likes that each day is different. In appreciation of all that she does for her colleagues, students, and the whole school community, SRFAX is pleased to recognize Berengere Damali as the Certificated Employee of the Month.
Congratulations one more time to the very well-deserving folks this evening. Next, we have our school site parent organization updates, and we will be hearing from Santa Rosa French American Charter School. So I will bring forward Evelyn Gonzalez, ELAC representative, Angelica Ramon Zurita, ELAC representative, Beatriz Oviedo Guillermo, ELAC representative, and Ben Wolf, Parent Association Foundation president.
I just got voted to go first, so. Good evening, President Marinieri, Superintendent Tranel, members of the board, district leadership. Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Ben Wolf. I'm president of the Parent Association for French American Charter School. I've got two kiddos at the school. My son's in second grade at SRCS, and my daughter's actually now in seventh grade, and she's continued on with the French Immersion School now over in the Slater campus. Both my kids have been in the program since TK, and it's been fascinating to watch both of them develop fluency, a love of language in general. My daughter will sit in a restaurant and overhear a language she's not heard before and ask questions about it and begin to understand it. So just seeing how the ability of learning that language early on helps them is amazing to watch. They've also gained, I think, a global perspective by being through this type of program, which is fantastic. So I'd like to start by thanking the board for supporting dual language immersion education in the district. It's fantastic that we have this in a public school setting like this at SRFAX, at CCLA, now also on the Slater campus with the continued SRFAX program there too. And I want to mention briefly too that we continue to hear positive feedback from the 7th and 8th grade students who are just starting out now over at the Slater campus with the program. They've had a good experience in transitioning there, tremendous support by Principal Partica, who's been very supportive of it, and the interest in the 7th and 8th grade programs among the students and the families on the main campus continues to grow, and looking forward to seeing that develop more in the coming years. I also want to say that given that it's Week of the School Administrator, thank you for the reminder on Parent Square, Superintendent Tranel. I want to give a quick shout out to Principal Anderson to thank her for her tireless effort in supporting the students, the staff, the school. She's greatly appreciated by all of us. The members of the Parent Foundation, we have a little gift for her she doesn't know about yet, so I won't ruin the surprise. That shows up tomorrow. So we'll be handing that off to her as well. We've got a great community of parents, students, teachers, staff that work together to support the kids in the program at SRFAX. And I just want to highlight a couple of those examples this evening that I've already started off. As I mentioned, we've got a super involved group of parents who jump in to support the school through fundraising efforts, through student activities, community building events, parent donations in particular, and fundraising efforts to support the school, and specific items such as visas for the teachers, classroom and student supplies, tutoring, after-school enrichment opportunities, field trips, the school's French accreditation, and many more things. So this year we kicked off our school year with our annual back-to-school family picnic that we have at Doyle Park. And we're currently in the middle of our annual family giving campaign, about halfway through the program right now. And we're about 60% of our way to our fundraising goal for the year, which wraps up at the end of October here for the fundraising. We're also getting ready to kick off our Grant a Teacher's Wish campaign, which starts on Giving Tuesday, just after Thanksgiving. And this is has become a tradition now, and it's a program where teachers put out a wish list of special items they might like in their classrooms, and then families receive those lists, and then parents fulfill the lists for the schools or for the teachers specifically in their children's classrooms. And it's been a great way for the parents to engage with the students early and the teachers early, and get involved in their classrooms. We've also had a couple of family events, community events already, and we're planning more throughout the year, which recently we had the Walk and Roll to School Day, which was quite a success. A lot of our students participated in that. And we had a nice shout out in the Press Democrat as well for the students that were doing that. We've had several dine and donate events at local restaurants. We're planning our annual Carnival dinner, which is an auction night fundraiser that we'll do in March. We also are planning a Family Earth Day in April. We have skate nights at Snoopy's Ice Arena and Cal Skate. And of course, the already mentioned once tonight, the always popular end of year student talent show that happens on campus, and many other events that we're working on. So parents have been very involved in helping in the cafeteria, growing, maintaining the school garden, chaperoning field trips, other volunteers throughout it. So many good things to be grateful for. Of course, there are challenges too, but I'm just going to focus on the things that we're very grateful for as a parent community. And thank you all for your continued support of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, Trainer, and board members. My name is Angelica Ramon, and my partner is Evelyn Gonzalez. We are ILAC's parent representatives of Santa Rosa French American Charter School. We are here to share the things that we have made at Santa Rosa French American Charter School, and we are pleasant to have the opportunity to talk about school topics that have been happening at our school and how to support our students that are learning a second or third language. Moreover, we are proud that our multilingual students have excellent outcomes as demonstrated by the fact that around 80% of reclassified sixth graders meet or exceed standard on SBAC. In addition to our reclassified students being acknowledged at the district's event, we have an intimate event that recognizes all the students who have been reclassified since the start of the pandemic. Moreover, we as ILAC members are celebrating and participating in school events such as Latinx Heritage Month, and we will have Aztec dance performance on Friday afternoon, October 13. So the board and district leadership are invited. Moreover, we participate in the École, a Blue, Blanc, et Rouge, Return to School Picnic, and more. Therefore, multilingual families feel supported, and we are happy to be part of the Santa Rosa French American Charter School family. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Thank you so much for those wonderful reports. Do we have another report from? Okay, great. At this time, we're going to take a very short 5-minute break so folks can continue celebrating and taking pictures with your loved ones who were awarded this evening. And then we will return at 6:30 with our reports for this evening. Okay, we are going to continue with our meeting this evening. If folks would like to take a seat. Okay, so we are going to start with our reports this evening. And we are going to start with item D1, California School Employee Association Santa Rosa 75 report. So do we have a report this evening from President Lehman?
There's no report tonight.
Thank you. Item D2 is our Santa Rosa Teachers Association report. So I will hand this over to SRTA President Catherine Howell.
Good evening, President Manieri, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, members of the listening public. My name is Catherine Howell. I'm the president of the Santa Rosa Teachers Association, representing about 900 teachers in Santa Rosa City Schools. I want to start by saying thank you to our administrators that are here tonight, as well as those that are listening or not able to be with us. The teachers love you and appreciate you every day as you come and do your jobs to make our schools safer, to make our students successful, and to help us, the teachers, do our jobs, make sure that our students are successful. So a huge thank you to our administrators. I also want to say thank you to this board for the resolutions that you will hopefully pass this evening for the LGBTQIA+ History Month, as well as Filipino American History Month. It's empowering to our students to hear themselves in our curriculum, to see themselves in our curriculum and hear the history of the people from where their origins come, and not just this month, but every month as our teachers work to integrate those stories into their curriculums. So thank you for those resolutions. The biggest ongoing concern with our teachers is still, not shockingly, school safety and student safety. We hear about the same two schools over and over again in our newspapers, but we know that while those problems are great, we also know they're not the only two schools in our district that are struggling with school safety and keeping our kids safe every day while they're at school. Right. The principals of Slater and Montgomery have the full support of the teachers. And they're happy with the movement that's being made towards regular student discipline and making sure that, the kids are understanding what school is for. And so good support for those administrators, but still concerns with sort of the lack of the implementation that was promised us in the LCAP. It's great to say, hey, we've got all these new positions, the campus supervisors, the restorative specialists, the family engagement facilitators, the school-based therapists, more counselors. We need all those people. And the reality is we don't have all those people. The jobs are still open, right? Many of those positions come with a bonus that for some reason can't make it to the front page of EdJoin. So when teachers look those jobs up, when individuals look those jobs up, they're not seeing those bonuses listed. And so that's a simple solution. It's a much bigger solution to how do we get those people working at our school sites. We're still looking for an update on alternative education. We want our students to be in the best situation that they can be in. We want them to be successful. When we talk about alt ed, we're not talking about just removing kids. We're talking about finding them the best learning environment that they can possibly be in so they can be successful. If a student isn't being successful in a large middle school or a large high school, we need to figure out where that successful spot is. And we need to make sure that the families and the students are getting what they need from education. And we're also hoping for an update on the discussions that we know that you might be having with the city and the Santa Rosa Police Department to find out where the conversation is going in terms of SROs. Santa Rosa Teachers Association still stands in support of restoring the SRO program to our high schools and our middle schools. We publicly voted on that not quite a year ago, but we definitely, as a body, support SROs being returned to Santa Rosa City Schools, the program being reinstated. So, thank you.
Thank you, President Howell. The next report on our agenda is the superintendent report.
Thank you, President Manieri, members of the board, those who are with us in person and online. Today marks day 40 of the school year. We have 140 more days of opportunity to positively support our students. I sent some information out earlier today to our staff and with the help of Parent Square to our school district community. And I want to reiterate some of the things that were in that letter. The devastating attacks in Israel and Gaza have our community reeling, including our own students, staff, and families. Images and videos of the devastation and hostages are expected to be flooding social media platforms and other social apps that people may use. We encourage our families to talk with their children about information they may see on social media and create a plan as a family for how to handle access to social media platforms that are pushing these images and videos. There are many resources available to help navigate the conversation with our youth. Today, we sent out both links to available resources from California and across the country. School counselors, school psychologists, and school-based therapists are available to support at our school sites. And there are many resources available through our county as well. Every child deserves safety, security, and respect, regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, religion, or political beliefs. As such, it is crucial for all of us to work together each day toward a community that is peaceful and promotes mutual understanding, respect, and belonging.
Thank you, Superintendent Tranel. The next report on our agenda is the board president report. I have only a couple of things to share with the board. I will be reaching out to board members via a survey to determine what interests board members have in being liaisons to certain committees within our district. So that is going to help inform an agenda item that will be coming forth at a board meeting so that we can appoint or let the community know which of us will be attending certain committees within our district. Actually, that is the only report that I have this evening. So with that, I will hand it over to any board members who have reports this evening. Director De La Cruz.
Just want to thank Donna Fernandez for her invitation to join you all at the California Indian Museum for the third round of Native Sense, which is a really cool financial literacy program that is designed to be culturally responsive and ways to pull in Native kids in our community to really think about, how are we setting up our lives and what are the decisions that we're making so that we can be in a strong place to have healthy and fulfilling and sustainable lives into the future. It was super cool curriculum. It was really nice to have some delicious fry bread tacos, and just want to thank you for extending that invitation. I also just want to say that it is so fun to watch all of these young athletes just run and kick and do all these things that make them so happy, and just all the sweaty glowiness happening all over our campuses after school just fills my heart with joy. So go get them, you guys, and keep having so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other board member reports? I see Director De La Torres and Director Flores. Director Flores, would you like to go first?
I was typing. Okay, so thank you. I had the opportunity to be invited to ArtQuest to its 30th annual anniversary of showcase, right? And I was able to see the wonderful and beautiful performances of our own students. And this was a showcase to the community at large to see what ArtQuest is all about. I also had the opportunity to see one of the performances in the theater inbox by Mr. Anglin's students, right? And I was thoroughly impressed. And if you haven't been able to see one of those shows, I highly recommend that you go and see what our students are doing at ArtQuest. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing, what they have, planned out for the rest of the year.
Thank you. Director Delatorre.
First and foremost, I just want to thank all the administrators in the room that are here tonight and throughout our district for Administrators Week. You truly are appreciated for all the work that you do for your staff, our community, our students. I also want to have the opportunity through my report to ask for better communication and transparency. There's a lot of misnotion that when the SR program was paused that we no longer work with SRPD, and that simply is just not the case. Your students, children's safety is of the utmost of our concern. We do have active contracts with them for certain situations, and I think it's important that that's communicated and made aware. So ask those questions you need to ask so that you're aware of what we are and what we are not doing. I'd also like to ask the district on how do we continue to partner with SRPD and have those active discussions to ensure that we're on the same page with trainings, opportunities, communications to ensure that our student and staff safety is being prioritized. We've had a very good working relationship with them this year, and that needs to be noted and applauded for both entities working collectively for everybody involved.
Thank you, Director Delatorre. Director Medina.
Thank you, President Manieri. I did want to follow up on the joint collaboration that we have with the City of Santa Rosa and ourselves. As I reported at our last board meeting, we most recently met September 25th, and we decided to focus on the issue of campus safety first. So I just want to follow up by again reiterating at our next meeting, which will be on November 6th, the chief of police is being invited to participate in that. And so that's kind of where we're starting. But we are working collaboratively. This is something that I think is critical process in terms of the fact that we're simply at the table together, having dialogue, trying to work together for solutions to keep our schools and communities safe. So that's just a quick brief update. One of the challenges is that this is a lot of very busy people, including the mayor and vice mayor, that we're all trying to come together to meet together. So scheduling so we can all come together to meet is challenging, and that's why our next meeting is until November 6th. I did want to also touch base on a meeting that I was at Elsie Allen this week. I was very excited to hear about the new pathway. In addition to their ag pathway, their healthcare pathway, and public and safety pathway, they're looking at adding an education pathway, which is about teaching and getting students into teaching, something that I think we have a very critical need for. And I'm hoping it also incorporates language into it as dual immersion in language is something that we critically need and are having a greater demand for. So I think the hope is for that to start next fall. And so I'm really excited about that and excited to see what's happening there at Elsie Allen around that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Medina. Yes, Superintendent Tranel.
Sorry, I realized there was a note that I wanted to also share, and just was so happy to be at Santa Rosa Junior College on Monday for Indigenous Peoples Day, and want to thank our staff. And we had students there. I believe CCLA was there. We had parents there, and it was beautiful to see the celebration and the connections in the community, and to watch as we celebrated students who are now at SRJC, who used to be our students. So I want to thank our team and our parents for being out there and supporting this event and being a part of it.
Thank you, Superintendent Tranel. I think someone might have we will just ignore that. The next report we have this evening is our Indian education report. So I would love to bring down the team that Superintendent Turnell just mentioned to give us a report on our Indian education program.
Hear about our awesome program. Hopefully you're seeing us everywhere.
Is your microphone on?
There we go. The pushers on. Push. There we go. All right. All right.
Perfect,
I'll
thank
start again.
you.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us to talk about our wonderful program, Indian Education. I'm Elizabeth Billy, and I brought with me tonight some of my team. We do have a fearless crew, but here I have Madonna Feather Cruz, who is the president of our parent committee. Without our parent committee, we couldn't do any of the work we do. And then next to me, to my right, is Donna Fernandez, who is our teacher representative, and she works at Pioneer High School. And then far to my right is my new boss, Dr. Patricia Law. And she's doing a fabulous job in learning about our program. And she's jumped right in and gotten her feet wet. I think she's up to her knees now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm drowning.
So we have an awesome crew. And so that is who we have here tonight. And so we're just gonna jump right into, we have a PowerPoint for you. And our first slide is on our 506 form, which you probably remember from previous meetings. And we talked about, this is really where it all starts for us. And it's about identification and identifying who our Native American students are, and getting this 506 form into the hands of the parents of these Native students to fill it out so that they can be counted, and that way they can be a part of Indian education, get the resources that they need. And so that's kind of where it all starts. And there's lots of efforts and different things that we're doing to make that happen. Some of those efforts are that we are working with the IT department for Santa Rosa City Schools, letting them know kind of what the challenges and barriers have been, and them helping us to get information out to principals, teachers, registrars about once a student is enrolled, registered, and says that they are Native American, that that there's a list accumulated and made, comes to us so that we can get this form into the parents' hands. So that's one of the big things that's kind of happening. Also, I take this form everywhere I go. I got one at Indigenous Peoples Day yesterday. I was so excited. So, you know, just taking it everywhere, getting it, just getting the information out to the schools, going to different meetings when the FEFs have their meetings, so that everybody isn't aware that, okay, if you think you have an Indigenous or Native American, need a 506 form. So that's that one. Our program hasn't changed too much since last year. We still are just working harder and better at some of the things we're doing, and it's growing. So lots of the activities are listed there, and they're kind of just the same ones that we've been doing before. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to let you read it and then pass on.
Thank you, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings, board members, Superintendent Turnell. Thank you for allowing us to present in front of you and share the great things that our program is doing for our students and hopes to continue to do. On the screen, you can see a little bit about our program. We are funded by a grant, Title VI. That's a PK through 12 grant. So it serves all of those students. And we have a 4-year multi-year grant. We're in year 2. And it includes parent committee approval. We recently had that meeting and heard a lot of great feedback and desires, priorities from our parents. And in coordination with Title I money, we are able to fund this program and serve our families. We have about $52,000 from the grant Title VI specifically. That's about $700 more than we had last year. On the other side of the screen, you can see the 5 objectives that in the grant we outline and we say that we're working toward. So we're always looking at what can we do to work with parents, and the community involvement is an important piece of that, as is increasing academic achievement and support, and looking to do a lot with culturally responsive activities and support, and finally a focus on college and career preparation. How we meet those objectives or those goals is shown here on this slide. We do a lot with family connection. We have a family fun night. We have parent and family workshops. Allegra de la Cruz, or sorry if I'm not saying that correctly.
Alegría.
Alegría, thank you very much. Talked a little bit about our financial sense series that we have. So that's some of the workshops that we do. We also have community outreach through traditional dance, the California Indian Museum and Cultural Center. And then we make school connections with Native clubs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we support families with materials and resources like tutoring, school supplies, and food distribution. And then Liz is going to talk a little bit about, for the first time, we've got a student needs assessment happening.
Yeah, so this year in trying to promote student leadership and just to grow the program, we decided to do a student needs assessment. And so we just took the parent assessment and we tailored it for the students, and then we sent it out to all of our Native American students that are currently in the program. And we are still getting those in. They're coming in. I sent them out email. So right now I think I have about 24 of them. So they're still coming in. So we'll give you the results at our next time we come and meet to let you know what the students are saying that they want to see and what they want to happen for Indian education. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, we partner with the school sites to streamline kind of that 506 form and getting information out there, not only for the 506 form, but also for the resources, so that they know that there's tutoring, so that they know that there's different parent workshops, so that they know that there's community nights, the math nights that we have, the financial things that we have, the cultural dances that we do. And so getting that information, but we just kind of did like a one-pager that goes out. And I think the avenue that we use is the Communicado, I believe. And each one of these have a little link, if you will, and it takes you deep into what the program is or what they need to know. So I'm really excited about that. You know, I never really started out being real techie, but I'm seeing how technology can really be your friend. And so I've invited this new friend in my life.
So that's how we partner with school sites. We also are partnering with the community. SCO has a free family and community liaison collaborative, and we have the family engagement facilitators that are part of our programs, as well as Liz as our community worker, have the opportunity to collaborate and network and learn from other people in Sonoma County. So that's an exciting opportunity. It's something that's happening all year long. So we just wanted to let you know that in addition to partnering with our school sites, we're also partnering with other folks that are supporting our endeavors. And then how we partner with families, we'll get into more depth with that, but really coming from a place of cultural promotion is prevention. We've got our website represented here, and we'll continue to build that. That will be kind of our hub of resources, information, the 506 form. This will be the place to go as soon as we've migrated over to our new system, and we'll be posting pictures and other resources there. So speaking of promotion, because graduation is also promotion, we've got some numbers for you that we're pretty proud of, our impact, our stories, and our successes. Thank you. This slide shows the last 3 years of trends as far as numbers. So for Santa Rosa City Schools, our identified Santa Rosa City Schools Native students, PK through 12, you can see the trend there, going from 134 in 21-22 to 186. And then a little bit of a drop off, but we're working on the identification, as Liz mentioned, with several different systematic ways of addressing that so that we can better identify and support our families. So currently this year, we're at 184. We do anticipate that going up. And then our graduation rates for the last 3 years are also represented there. You can see 86% in 21, 82 in 22, and a whopping 92 in 23. And just to give you some context, the little box to the right, those are state graduation rates from 21-22. That's the most recent data we could pull for this. So the graduation rate for Indian students in the state is 65%, and for all students is 84%. So important to note that our program has 92% of our students graduating. The other thing that's important to note with that is just because they're not reflected, like if it's not graduation, we have some students that are super seniors or that complete, but maybe they don't do all the A through G. So when you think of graduation, there's a difference, right, between graduation and completion and when that happens. So technically, we really had 100% on 23 if they just took another year, which is fine. And then we just wanted to share some 8th grade data with you. These are numbers showing proficient and above, comparing the state for both math and reading. A lot of the 4th grade data wasn't available, unfortunately, so all we have for you tonight is 8th grade data. But you can see on the slide from 2021, which is again the numbers that we have to work with at this point, state math at 8th graders at proficient and above was 20%. Math, we need to do some work with, and Donna's going to talk about that in the next slide about how we're addressing that need. We only had 4 students tested, so not statistically significant. But in reading, we're doing very well. A state reading level, 8th graders proficient and above is 32%, where our students are 50%. So kudos to the work that the team has been doing thus far. And I feel honored to work with them and look forward to seeing what more we can do. And speaking of that.
Hekatema, Donna Fernandez, Ilumbuk. So how are you, board members? Thank you for allowing us to make this presentation, and superintendent. So one of the areas that we're concentrating on these last year is looking at to build math sense and belonging. And so we are working with the ACES program, the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, to offer what's called Native Financial Sense. And this is a program to introduce students to financial literacy. So we invite our community members to come, and they have a fun night of budgeting money. They get a profile, which is a career with a monthly budget or monthly take-home pay, and they have to use that money wisely to be able to buy and the necessary spending that you do during the month. So they really have, the best part of it is to hear the reflection of students at the end. This last series that we had, we actually had a person from our local tribe introduce to students and talk to them about the POMO money, or the trade value that we utilize, which is our clamshell beads. And so it was so great to see the culturally relevant connection between financial literacy and our POMO people. And so that was great. We have one more coming up, which will be November 14th. And we partnered with the California Indian Museum and Cultural Center to offer these. We are also providing tutoring. So I am doing tutoring after school at Pioneer High to offer that for students at Pioneer. And I'm also going to now start partnering with the Sonoma County Indian Health Project to offer tutoring for our community members. We also, as you guys can see from the website there, we're partnered with Dr. Joe Boiler who is one of the professional development people that we coordinated with at the district level last year. And she has developed a program with the Indigenous mathematics educators throughout the United States and actually global. And we have just now launched what's called the Indigenous Mathematics Art Talks program. So this is now currently on the UCube website. And this allows an open discussion about the mathematical lens and perspectives through Indigenous art. And so it's just an absolute great program. And I'm so happy that Dr. Joe Boiler was one of our PD coordinators or representatives that we had last year that we contracted with. And so that is how we are implementing and hoping that our teachers in our district can bring in culturally relevant mathematics into the classroom.
Thank you. And Liz is going to take the next couple of slides.
I am super excited about this, working with our curriculum department and the focus on the ethnic studies. But what we're doing is they've allowed me to join their team to do Native American class, so a Native American curriculum. Many times I hear in the community or our people or our families saying that, you know, there's a lot of ethnic studies classes out there, but they're not being taught by any natives, which is true. So we're fixing that. And so anyways, we're just starting. So, but I'm super excited about it. Some of the things that we, as you can see on the slideshow, is we're just really focusing on California Native Americans, and this is and about the land, going beyond land acknowledgement, talking about sovereignty, but also kind of the gold rush, genocide, going into the truths about Native Americans and that we're still here. And I'm super excited about this, and our families are excited. And so that's in the works. That's happening.
And I think this is back to you.
Yeah. As you can see from here, as we've talked about, that culture is prevention. So being able to reach out with our parents and community and ensure that students feel a belonging within our school systems. We offer a number of programs such as our Family Math Night. So there's a few pictures there where the community was invited, our native parents and students to come and enjoy mathematics. And we had that last fall, and we're going to do that again this next spring. And we also want to acknowledge that we have a number of students that do play the sports and are out there, and we make sure that we support them both in academics and their athletic abilities. Our traditional dancers are up in the top left corner up there. A number of our students do participate in our traditional dances. And I was glad that, you know, CCLA was at the Indigenous Peoples Day, and a number of our students participated in that program on Monday. So that was great. And then continuing on, you can see more pictures there. Coordinate with Yakima Indian Education Center. I recently just found out one of our Pioneer High School classes is coordinating with our Indian Education program, and we'll be taking a group out to Yakima Indian Education Center. You can see the bottom right or bottom left picture there is our students participating in the Native Financial Sense. So they are holding up is money that looks just like real money. It's awesome for them to be able to hold $4,000 in their hand and try to figure out how to spend that, because they have to go and get housing and they can't just spend it all at other places. So, we have a really great connection with members of our community, our elders, and parents and families. The next one is Liz and I had the opportunity this summer to participate in a professional development sponsored by the California Indian Education for All. We went to the summer program that they offered. And I want to let you guys know that talking about Indian education is not just here at Santa Rosa City Schools. Indian education is an important component throughout the state. And I know that you probably know that more than I do. But there are many things happening in our state to promote Indian education. As you can see, the California Indian Education for All website is a vital partner with the state to promote the incorporation of curriculum, such as there is a current book that was released by Dr. William Bauer, who is actually Pomo Indian from Round Valley. He wrote a book on looking at what's called We Are the Land. And so this book is in particularly important and can be implemented within the school system because it looks at the current history of California natives, not just stopping at the missions. And so this is a book that, and they currently are having a book club that anybody can join to talk about the book and learn from it. They also have American Indian talking circles, and every month they are having great resources that are available, again, to free resources on education and curriculum to our teachers and staff.
And I'll take this one. Thank you, Donna. So here you see community outreach. So you have the CIMC booth, California Intertribal Council, the Disability Services and Legal Center, Native American demonstration project, which I directed. Community outreach, as Superintendent mentioned, that she attended the SRJC Indigenous Peoples Day gathering. I believe there were over 50 dancers that are Pomo that were dancing, and many of them were under the age of 24. So with that, it's prevention. Culture is prevention to us, and so that is stopping fentanyl overdoses, suicide, gang violence. To be able to do that out in public the way that we are able to do now, we have a sense of pride. And so community outreach is really fun for us to do. We get to visit with each other, meet new people, invite people that may have never been to one of our events. They get to go. Go ahead with the next slide. So here's some photos of our Indian Education Parent Committee. It takes a lot of work to hold the honoring ceremony for our students. It's grown bigger and bigger every year. This year we will be holding it on May 31st at 6 p.m. And the Windsor Unified School District, which I'm also involved with, is going to come together so that we're honoring the students from their district along with our district instead of being separated. And so it's really important. I've heard personally from students who've graduated from high school that said, if I didn't plan on graduating, but you guys honored me in 8th grade. So that's why I volunteer my time to all of the Native American students. Not only in Sonoma County, but wherever I'm asked to help. So it's very, very important to me. We have a big committee that they're not all here. They're very busy as well. So, we need your help. We have raffle prizes for them. As you've seen, the very, very low income budget of $52,000, that should be doubled, but that's all we're working with, which is basically, that's not enough. So we need help. Go ahead with the next slide. So I don't know this slide.
This is just talking about our parent needs assessment, and we've sent that out to all of our parents. So we'll be gathering that information and so that we can just keep our program going better and stronger.
So what we did was just to summarize for you all some of the priorities and needs that parents identified last year. But as Liz mentioned, we've already handed those out for this year just last week. So they're still trickling in, but you can kind of get from here what is important for our parents and where they see needs, and that happens to align with the work that we're doing.
This is just some pictures of our native clubs. And we have Native clubs on the high school campuses, and then right now I'm working on the middle school campuses a little bit stronger than we were last year, which is exciting. Kind of partnering with some of the programs that some of the middle schools have put in place, like Raices, and some of their family engagements have like started, or their restoratives have started like little clubs. And so I just said, well, why don't we just invite the Native students? Because some of them, there's not that many. And if you only have like 4 students, they're reluctant to kind of come and meet. So you have to really be, you know, junior hires especially, creative and fun to get them to come to anything. So we have a pretty good program set up for them this year. So I'm really excited to see how that pans out. We'll send you some pictures of that. But right now it's the Native clubs happening as usual, where we're just having lots of fun. The next slide kind of shows you how many students I have. We haven't had Native Club on all the campuses yet. I am working on a space at Montgomery High, and also at Maria, we're working on, I just talked to the student the other day who's willing to be the president. And so we have about 12 students over there right now identified, the most students I've ever had over at Maria. So I'm really excited about that, to have their first club since I've been here. And so anyways, we'll keep you posted on that also.
And this is a flyer. These are various flyers of the activities and resources that we're utilizing throughout our county. We do have a good partnership with Sonoma County Indian Health, and they also provide a number of services for our tribal members, and actually all of our Native American students and parents in the community.
So we just want to thank you for your attention and patience and support of our programs. We're really proud to be working as a team, supporting our families. And we hope that this gives you some sort of an idea about who we are and what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then you're welcome to stay for just 1 minute. I'm going to see if board members have any questions or comments that they'd like to share with you. I see Director Flores' hand up and Director Medina.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this very thorough presentation. I always enjoy your presentations year after year. So, and I'm so glad that we're making headway in terms of reaching out to our Native students. I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. Just one clarifying question that I have regarding your data slide. Are those identified students based on ARIES self-identification, or were those numbers based on the Form 506?
They're based on the 506 form.
506.
Yes.
So, just a slight sort of thing I would like to see. It's like self-identify, right? Because we all have to self-identify in ARIES, right? Pull that data and then see how many students we have with 506 forms. To see, where we need to grow and where we need to do more outreach, that would be helpful in terms of, as a board to direct the superintendent saying, okay, we need more support in these schools because there is a higher need in identifying students and providing the services that are so, precious, right? So thank you.
Thank you.
Director Medina.
Thank you, President Manieri. Again, thank you. Great presentation. As Director Flores said, I love seeing the progress. As you said, culture is prevention. La cultura cura. Culture is our shield, and I really, really believe in that. To that effect, you talked a little bit about ethnic studies and our stories. And, historiography is the story that what is written. And I'd love to see maybe work around our students collecting our stories and potentially creating some sort of archive within our library where these stories are actually gathered and told, oral stories captured and written down so that we have, because a lot of them just aren't there. So I think that would be something great. I know you got plenty on your plate, but if somehow that could be incorporated into what we do, I think it's important. Thank you. Oh, and if we could possibly get a copy of the presentation, I don't think I saw it attached. I'd appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and I just want to mention too, because I know that you all look at data, but when we talk about ARIES and we talk about like self-identification and our students with the 506 form, so the students that I am working with, reaching out to, supporting the students that are in my program, if you will. Those are the students that I am reporting to you on. And so, because those are all the ones who filled out the 506 form, and according to the grant, those are really the only students that I'm supposed to be supporting, or we're financially fraud, right? So when you talk about an Aries report, we'll give you an Aries report that shows you how many clicked the wrong button and said that they're Native American, but that data is not accurate. So it's just like how history, Columbus didn't discover, so it's like, why am I going, I don't want to get too involved here, but it's just not accurate. And so for me to give you faults, it's not accurate, and it's not going to really give you a picture of what our Indian education is about. I'll just leave it like that.
And I just want to thank Liz and everybody on the team, because even though we're only funded for students who are 506 identified, nobody here at this table turns anybody away. It doesn't matter if you have a 506 form. It doesn't matter if you're non-native. You come to a club, you come to an event, and you're welcome with open arms.
Director De La Cruz.
Thank you so much for a beautiful presentation and really beautiful work. I'm particularly excited about the curriculum focus. I have had kids go through multiple years of school and learn things that I know are just false, and not only false, but harmful. And so I'm wondering, is there a component to the curriculum development where you also, kind of as the experts, receive complaints from parents and or from different schools, and maybe provide some technical assistance on how to change the way that certain things are being taught? Like, is there a way for some technical assistance to flow out of Indian education to really, correct some of the inaccuracies that are contained in our curriculum currently?
Yeah, so that's why Tim's team, the curriculum team, has reached out to me for this Native American Studies. So the Native American Studies is truly coming from Native American people. So the knowledge keepers and the traditional experts, they're the people who are going to be writing this curriculum, who are going to be providing song, if you will, have tapes of artifacts, different things. So and then telling the true history of the genocide and the missions, and so those are the people, and that's the curriculum we're working on. And every day, all day, we hear from our people and from parents, how. So last year, my daughter, thank God it's not San Jose City Schools, but they had a Pilgrim's Day or whatever. And so they wanted all of the kids to dress like a pilgrim. And then she said, Mom, do I have to dress like a pilgrim? Absolutely not. You do not have to dress like a pilgrim. So just things like that. And parents come to me and say, why? And I'm like, that's not our school. I don't have, power over everybody. But anyways, so all the time they are wanting us, our people, our elders, our people, they're wanting us to teach the truth. They're wanting us to, they're wanting people to know that we're still here. We have trauma. So they want teachers and to also know that these students have trauma. And so sometimes they learn differently. Sometimes that trauma gets in the way. So yeah, there's a lot to be learned.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this beautiful and important work that you're doing. We appreciate everything that you're doing, and we look forward to the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda, item D7, is our safety report. So I will hand this over to Superintendent Tranel.
Thank you, President Manieri, and members of the board, those who are with us in person and online. We're going to be focused on three things. First, I'm going to do a follow-up on some data points from the last meeting as we put the data together. I want to just close the loop on that. Our student board member is going to be sharing some survey information that I asked her to work on and get the voices of our students. And then we have Erica Vogel, who's here and waiting, I love, the Chief Executive Officer of Community Matters, who's going to be sharing some information on the Safe School Ambassadors Program. That is our safety report for tonight. So I'm going to start with some numbers. So regarding the 4 types of positions that we included in our Safety Advisory Roundtable strategic plan, as well as the LCAP, during the 22-23 school year, we had a total of 15 campus supervisors, and now we have funding for 27. 10 of those still need to be filled. For our family engagement facilitators, last year in 22-23, we had 25.4 because some of them didn't work full time. Now we have a whole of 26. We have 6 positions that still need to be filled. For our restorative specialists, we had 16 last year. Now we have 26 positions, and 8 of those positions still need to be filled. Last year, we had 23 school-based therapists. No, sorry, in 23, sorry, I'm not reading my notes right. In 22-23, we had 23, that's not making sense to me. Oh, yes, it is, sorry. In 22-23, we had 23 school-based therapists, and for this year, we have 24.75 because some are working part-time. We have some school-based therapists that are 0.875, not a 1.0, which is a full-time person. So those are answers to the questions of how many positions did we have, how many did we add, how many still do we need to fill? Yeah.
School-based therapists, are all of those positions filled?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And as I shared last time, our positions are posted on EdJoin. You can find that on our website, right from the front page where you can see the button that says jobs, and it will lead you straight to our classified positions. So anyone who's looking to join our team, or if you know anyone looking for a career change, we definitely have positions open, and we welcome the community to do that. I'm now going to hand over the safety. Oh, yes, question?
On that, Anna, is the district doing any further active recruiting other than the postings for those? Okay.
So we actually have these positions posted on at least 10 different job search engines, and a few of those are nationwide. We are also doing some work with our consultants. We are in the process of interviewing some of our staff who are in these roles so that we can also promote through the voice of the people who are on our staff. So that's literally in process right now. And those will be coming out soon.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I spent the past week and a half about gaining some information from students on how they feel regarding safety. I had some conversations in person and over email with students. And I also sent out a Google form or survey, which included closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. And so some main things that I saw were a reason that students don't feel safe at school when they don't feel safe at school is mainly because of fights, and also interestingly, vaping, not necessarily the act itself, but the fact that they can't peacefully use the bathroom or, go to the bathroom without a group of people in the bathroom vaping doesn't provide an environment that makes them feel safe or comfortable. And so that's leading to some concern with students. I know in my school, I've definitely experienced this. When it comes to a lockdown or an intruder on campus, most students do not feel like their school is prepared for an intruder on campus. A lot of this is because buildings have parts of them that are broken blinds, doors, and windows. Also the fact that a lot of our campuses have very large windows. just as a cause of concern for a lot of students and teachers. It makes them feel unsafe and unprepared. Students are also worried about miscommunication when it comes to lockdowns. We know from last year that this was a big problem and it has improved a lot, but I think students are still worried about that. Yeah, when it comes to an evacuation, students feel pretty prepared. We have a lot of drills that come to that. Although I did hear some students say that because a lot of our drills are done in advocacy or something that's called advocacy, but a very similar thing, that they feel a little unprepared if they were to have an evacuation in one of their other classes, just because the routes can be different or where they go can be different. So some confusion around that. So maybe doing a few drills in other classes could be helpful. I know it does take away from class time, but it could be really important. Yeah. Okay, so some other things that I definitely wanted to hit on were some things that I've heard being mentioned at our recent board meetings. One of these is the Stop It app, especially as a way for people to anonymously report issues or violence. And students regard the Stop It app, for lack of a better word, as useless or a joke. I think that the idea is very useful. The fact that it's anonymous is really great. And a lot of students said that they liked the idea. But, when it's brought up in assemblies or presentations, people laugh a little bit. It's seen as something that nobody really uses. And a lot of people said that they haven't used it. Those who said that they did use it also said that it wasn't very helpful, that they never got really a follow-up of whether an investigation happened or not, or nothing really happened. I know that we spend a lot of money on the Stop It app, so I'm wondering if there's a way to improve the Stop It app, or maybe a different anonymous way for people to get that sort of anonymity while, making it be a little bit more useful. Another thing that's been brought up a lot is fences around the school, or a single point of access on school campuses. So a lot of students actually said that this would make them feel less safe and make them feel trapped or like a prison. When it comes to if it would actually make campuses safe, a lot of students brought up the point that people can jump over fences. I know at my school, we have some fences around the campus. Some of them have holes that kids go through. Kids jump the fences to skip class. It's a problem. I'm not saying that this is a solution that wouldn't necessarily work, but it definitely is one that might not work the best for how much money it would cost. When it comes to a single point of access as well, a lot of students were really worried about how that would factor into evacuations, and if it would prevent people from evacuating in a safe or quick manner, especially since evacuations can still be chaotic as is. Students were also worried about a clump of students, when school starts, when school ends, would cause more conflict, violence, and fights, which were some reasons that students feel already unsafe on campus. So if there was an increase of that, I don't necessarily think that that would help. Another thing that I wanted to point on that surprised me is a lot of students did not know what to do if they saw a gun on campus. Some students thought that they had to go to the front office, and they didn't know that any teacher can send the school into a lockdown. Others said that they would just hide and not tell anybody. Some people said that they wouldn't do anything. So maybe having an assembly or communicating with our students in some way, a few options or a few plans if they do see a weapon or a gun or anything like that on campus would be really helpful, and would be a really great way to prevent incidents like that. To end on a more positive note, students said that the main reason that they feel safe at school is because they trust the adults on campus and they trust their friends, and that creates a really safe environment for them. So I thought that that was a really amazing thing. Yeah, and I hope that we can continue to make our schools safer and continue to think of solutions. And I think it's really important that students feel that school is a safe place for them to learn and not a place that they should feel worried from or want to get away from. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rao. Yes, we might have some questions and comments. I see Superintendent Turnell's hand.
I want to thank our student board member Rao for doing this work and empowering the students that you're connecting with to share their voice on this matter. A couple of details that I wanted to share with some data that we pulled on our Stop It app. From the same date ranges, if you will, of August to October, from the beginning of the last school year in comparison to this school year. Last year, we had a total of 49 reports that were submitted on the Stop It app between August and October last fall and at the beginning of the 22-23 school year. And this year, we've had 111 reports, which have actually increased the opportunities for us to respond more swiftly. And thank you to all those who engage in the app.
Thank you. Director Rao, do you mind sending your findings to Superintendent Turnell so that that can be sent out to the board? That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I would now like to invite Erica Vogel to share some information about the Safe School Ambassadors Program.
Hello, and can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's on. Is it close enough? Okay. I have to admit that this is quite an intimidating spot to be in. But hello, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really happy to share a little bit more about our flagship program, the Safe School Ambassadors Program. But before I do that, I want to share a little bit about who we are and what we do and why we're so passionate about this work. Like Superintendent Turnell said, my name is Erica Vogel. I'm the CEO of Community Matters. We're a nonprofit organization located right here in Santa Rosa, but we actually serve schools across the United States and beyond in 2 other countries and 3 other US territories. So we feel like we're a little bit of a gem right here. And we're so pleased to be able to help our own local community in a very different way than what we're able to do in communities across the nation. We actually run most of our programs around school climate. And so everything that we do, including Safe School Ambassadors, which is our flagship, is about school climate and prevention and supporting youth. We do a variety of things, including Safe School Ambassadors, but we also have Safe School Buddies, restorative practice work, and other things that go around school climate and safety. But talking about our flagship program, Safe School Ambassadors, I want to share a little bit about what that program is, how it operates, and some of the core components. So the first thing is that the Safe School Ambassadors program was actually started. It was written and developed in 1999 after the Columbine massacre. And so our founder and former executive director, who's also here in Sonoma County as well, saw how the nation was responding to that incident. And while for many of you, you might not have remembered that, I know there's some young people in the room, but it really changed the way our school systems were in terms of gun violence on school campuses and threats on school campuses. So our founder, Rick Phillips, recognized how the nation was responding kind of from an outside-in approach, really looking about how we keep the bad and the scary things out without really addressing how we work with the students within. And that was really the premise of Safe School Ambassadors. It's an evidence-based bullying prevention program, but it truly is so much more than that. We work with schools to identify first the socially influential kids in all of the groups on the campus. And we start at grade 4 and go all the way through grade 12. Each of the programs are a little different based on developmental levels. But what we recognize is that students see, hear, and know things that adults don't. And they can also intervene in ways that adults can't. They're oftentimes the first people to arrive on the scene of any incident. And they also know how to support each other in a very different way. They'll notice changes in students' behavior before we do as adults. And so what we realized is that if we don't harness that power and potential of our students, then we're missing an entire opportunity since they're the bulk of the people on the campus. And we also recognize that not all students are ready. So we thought, how can we do this in an effective way that we're impacting more students through a ripple approach? So what we do, like I said, is we work with the schools, and the schools really own the programs once it's on their campus. They identify the social cliques on the campus, and then from that group, they look at who's leading those cliques. And we're talking about not just your typical leaders on a campus, but all of the leaders in the variety of groups that you have. And that's really critical, because when you're not engaging in the whole campus, then you're not going to have that ripple effect like you want to see. So the first thing they do is we identify those kids who are the leaders, and then we bring them together over 2 days, and we train them with skills to intervene and de-escalate in not just bullying situations, but any kind of situations, from exclusion to, fights on campus, physical acts of violence, even vandalism and things like that. But we don't ask them to put on a safety vest because that's not going to be effective. What we recognize is that if we can build connections among the peer groups on campus, and if they want to keep each other safe and their friends safe, then they will utilize that power within them to stand up and speak up when something's not right, and to de-escalate situations before they end up in your hands. And that's really the key. And through that, we also have a lot of fun too. We bring the kids together. The first thing that happens is we build bridges amongst those groups. We build connections, and then we also have adults on campus. I was really happy to hear that one of the reasons students felt safe is because of some of the adult connections that they have. We know that connectivity for kids is one of the most important things the CDC has recognized. It is first in schools to reducing behavior that is not pro-social. And so building those connections is really important, and building them across the different groups on campus that wouldn't normally connect is also critical. And during the training, we teach them with several skills, and they're pretty simple skills. And in fact, they're lifelong skills. I'm pleased to say that both of my kids at their high schools became safe school ambassadors. So I also was able to see it from a parent perspective. And these skills are things that they use to this day. And it's pretty simple, because we don't want to make it hard for them. We want them to be able to intervene and de-escalate in a way that is safe for them and comfortable. And so we teach them things such as balancing and supporting and reasoning with their friends. It's not worth it, that type of thing. Distracting. One of my favorite stories about distracting was at a high school, and it wasn't here in Sonoma County, but it was in Wyoming. And you think about rural Wyoming, and a young man saw a situation happening, and he wasn't sure what to do about it. So he shouted, "I love rainbows and unicorns." And you have to think it's Wyoming. And so because of that, it was enough to stop what was happening for a second, because people didn't know what was going on. And then another ambassador, who wasn't even a friend of his, reached his arm out and put his arm around his friend and said, "Let's get out of here. Let's not do this. Let's not have this fight." And so it can be pretty powerful when you're supporting each other. And that's one of the skills that we teach them, supporting first. And the last skill that we teach is getting help. And I want to be really clear about that. Getting help is not telling on somebody. Getting help is when you see something that you can't handle, that somebody else is going to get hurt. It's really helping them to understand and value that other person, and finding a way to get around that kind of conflict. And because of that, we have actually in Santa Rosa City Schools, as well as throughout Sonoma County, we've actually had weapons found on campus because an ambassador recognized it. Just in a neighboring county here, there was a plot to bomb and shoot at a school several years ago, and that was brought forward from an ambassador. And we don't want them to be, that's not their primary role. Their primary role is to stop their friends from getting in trouble and to stop themselves from getting in trouble. And through that, it really creates that safety net and that safe culture. So yeah, that getting help is not, it's not the stop it at, it's not anonymous, it's through relationships that they recognize. When you build a relationship with other peers on campus, and you know there's something wrong and you've got to find a way to do something about it, then you can go to a trusted adult. And through this, they build that relationship with trusted adults as well. So the training is actually 2 days long. And that doesn't seem like much, but over 2 days, ambassadors really gain some really wonderful skills. And then they meet throughout the rest of the year. And they do that to continue those connections, to build those connections, to practice the skills, to talk about what's working and what's not working, and also to play and have fun. So I thought that I would share a couple things that I read just recently from one of your schools. So I got some evaluations back from one of the trainings that just took place. And we asked the kids things like, or the students, some of them are pretty old, taller than me. We asked them, what they liked most about the training, and a couple things stood out for me. One was that the connections that were built. Another one was how safe they felt. And the last one was energy in that. One student said, I learned the best way to be a good part of my community is through compassion. And I just love that, because compassion can do so much. And then some of the words that were used to describe the training, I thought were also pretty powerful. This was a high school, by the way. Necessary, eye-opening, involving, relatable, positive, helpful, mind-opening, engaging, a reality check, inclusive, amazing, effective, and there were several: chill, cool, and fun. So in Sonoma County this year to date, we've already trained 280 students at schools across the county. We've also trained 100 adults as well. And last year, we trained about 600. And so when you think about the numbers, 600 students total last year in Sonoma County compared to 280 to date, that's a pretty big difference. And we have a lot of other schools that we're starting to work with, including many of yours. I'm passionate about this program. I think it's pretty amazing. I think that empowering youth is the way to go. Like I said in the very beginning, if 90% of the campus is students, why are we not using them? They're contributors. They're not just consumers. And so this program is some way that can light up a student that maybe has never been asked to serve as a leader. And that alone is so incredibly powerful. And we get some, pushback on this student can't leave class because they're not doing well in the class. And that's really a shame, because when you engage students in their community, they're more likely to do better in school. And we know that. So that's the Safe School Ambassadors Program. And if you have any questions, I'm open for them too.
Thank you so much, Erica, for joining us this evening and sharing information. This program is being offered to all of our elementary, middle, and high schools. It is being funded by the Sonoma County Office of Education for middle schools and high schools, and we have a contract on the agenda tonight in order for us to fund the elementary, which is a part of our LCAP and is included in our LCAP.
I just want to also say what's really powerful about that, about SCO funding the middle and high schools here, is it actually gives us, because we are local, because we're homegrown, this is our town, this is our community. I'm really excited about the possibilities of working more with those ambassadors in group settings where we're bringing them together as well. And the power of student voice is really amazing to be a part of. And I'm just so excited about all of the possibilities that we have.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Erica or comments from the board? Director Medina.
No questions. I just wanted to share that. I don't know why I was getting emotional during your presentation, because it just seemed powerful, like powerful work. Initially, when you start talking about it, I'm like, oh, this is like CIA intelligence gathering or something. But then as you presented, it was just emotional and it feels very powerful. So I'm glad that we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to have Community Matters in our backyard and serving our community in this way. It just feels like this is exactly what we need right now. So thank you so much for all of your work and for serving our community in the ways that you are. And your team is great. You have really great team members.
Oh, thank you. I agree.
Great, I'll hand it back to you, Superintendent Trinnell. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
That concludes the safety report for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the safety report this evening. Item D8, our Schools Plus report. I understand we have no report this evening, which brings us to item D9, CSBA report. Do we have a CSBA report? Seeing none. Okay, this brings us to our public comment on non-agenda items. So at this time, we will open it up for public comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board on non-agenda items. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. During public comments, we kindly ask that you maintain a respectful and civil tone during your comments, keeping in mind that differing opinions are welcome. We'd like to warn the public that according to our policy guidelines, personal attacks, offensive language, or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated and will lead to a discontinuance of your comments. Thank you for your cooperation in creating a constructive and inclusive meeting. So I have several blue cards. I will list the names of the first 3, and as we go along, I'll share who is coming up next. So our first 3 speakers will be Matt Hillstad, Nicole Rosashi, and Mike Martini. So if you'd like to come to the podium up there, you will have 3 minutes each.
Hello, thank you, board. My name is Matt Hillstead. I have over 20 years in Santa Rosa City Schools. The vast majority of that has been time spent at Montgomery High School. I have come here today to talk about priorities. It saddens me that at this moment, Montgomery has the same level of supervision that we did 7 months ago when a student was killed. It saddens me that over the last couple of months, we have seen the Press Democrat report on the increased levels of gang violence and activity at both MHS and Slater. That students and staff have been assaulted, that knives have been discovered and confiscated from multiple students, and that some of our students appear to have easy access to firearms. What saddens me the most is that while the Press Democrat was reporting on these incidents, the school board was silent. Rather than getting ahead of these events and ensuring the community that their children are safe, this school board was silent. This school board was able to find the resources and money to move the district office to an off-site location, which, from my understanding, puts the total contractual cost at $1.8 million. But you are unwilling to find the resources and money to provide adequate supervision across Santa Rosa City Schools. If student safety mattered to you, you would do everything in your power to address it. I encourage you to think outside the box and find some permanent way to fill the campus supervisor positions or bring SROs back on campus. And I really want to stress finding a permanent solution, because all too often when I walk the halls of Montgomery High School, I see an administrator from the district office or from other sites being asked to step in and fill a role. You should address this problem with the same level of resources that you provided Montgomery after that tragedy in March. And I am begging this board to do whatever it takes to increase supervisions on our campus. And I would encourage this board to seriously rethink its priorities and put the safety of students and staff first. As one more comment, I just want to give a shout out to Principal Santos. I think she's doing an amazing job in one of the most difficult circumstances that I have ever seen in the 20 years that I've been at Montgomery High School. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Next is Nicole Rosashi, followed by Mike Martini, followed by Natalie Goodrich.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Versace. I am a parent in this district. I'm an alumni from Cook Middle School and Montgomery High School. I'm an employee in public schools here in Sonoma County. I am the spouse of a Montgomery teacher. I want to thank Director De La Torre for his call earlier this week. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the updates from you this evening about campus safety. I have no interest in villainizing you as individuals. I am here tonight to talk to you as a collective body with the ability to make impactful changes to our campuses regarding violence and campus safety. You are a collective body that has the power and abilities that other agencies and individuals do not have. I've heard from at least 3 of you that the problem with campus violence and safety is a community problem. And while I agree with you on the whole, I also believe that you have the ability as a collective body to do things that the rest of us cannot do. I've written to you and spoke to you about these issues. I work in human resources for many years in Sonoma County in public education, and I truly do understand the roadblocks and the hurdles that you face with filling positions. The fact remains that we need to increase supervision on our high school campuses, all of our high school campuses, especially Montgomery High School. You have convened multiple committees to give you impacts and feedbacks about this, and the recommendation has been to reinstate in some form or another the SROs. And even if you personally disagree with that, your students, your staff, your community, your constituents have asked for that. You have the ability to increase campus salaries, and I know there are hurdles and challenges with that. You also have the ability to follow ed code regarding suspensions and expulsions to make our campuses safer. My comments tonight are joining comments from many people who've come before on the same issue. I have brought myself as a call to action to show up tonight and talk to you. There are many people here tonight. We can do better, we must do better. And those who agree with me, I'd like you to stand with me in silence in support of this call to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm sorry, Nicole. Next is Mike Martini, followed by Natalie Goodrich, followed by Serena DeBaca.
Good evening. My name is Mike Martini, and I am a resident of Santa Rosa. I'm here to ask the board to place consideration of the school resource officers on an agenda soon so that the public can weigh in on the issue. I think we hear a lot about reports to the board, but I think it's also important that you hear from the public, that you hear from the parents, you hear from the students, you hear from the people who are most impacted. My son attended Santa Rosa schools from kindergarten through high school. He graduated at a campus that had a school resource officer. I also had the honor to serve on the Santa Rosa City Council when the negotiations between the then school board, the Santa Rosa City Council, and the Santa Rosa Police Department established the program. This board is determined that they do not want a police presence on their school campuses. But the Press Democrat article pointed out that there were 945 calls for police response for all Santa Rosa schools in 2022. It seems that the school board's decision to keep police off a school campus is not working. It would make more sense to return school resource officers. These are public safety professionals receiving special training. Their familiarity with the campus, the staff, and most importantly, the students prepare them to respond better than a call to 911. It is human nature to not trust what you do not know, and the familiarity of a public safety professional with the students and teachers is a positive. I urge the Santa Rosa School District trustees to put this on agenda, to listen to the public, and to return the school resource officers, and finally to provide a safer educational environment for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next is Natalie Goodrich, followed by Serena DeBaca, followed by Julia Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Goodrich. I am a part of a group of parents, teachers, students, and community members that have come together for safer campuses, namely reinstating SRO programs back to middle and high schools in Santa Rosa. We know that the board and parents have the same goal, and that is to create a safe, welcoming learning environment in all schools. The threats of violence are a distraction for students and staff. By returning SROs to our high school and middle schools, we are taking a proactive stance to address the pressing issue of school safety. It is imperative that we provide our students with an environment they can thrive in academically, emotionally, socially, without constant fear of violence. We need SROs back on campuses to be an extra resource, to provide staff training, to help build community and police relationships within the schools, and to encourage students in addition to the primary benefit as immediate emergency responses. As we heard tonight from the student board member, students feel unsafe at schools. Having SROs back on campus is an easy solution to make them feel comfortable first and foremost, and then implement ad hoc committees, resources, training them, and to implement things like the Stop It app. People will think twice before threatening the safety of our students if they know that there is someone on site that has the sole job of being a vigilant protector to our students and our staff. Our students and staff deserve a safe learning environment. We as parents trust that you, the board, will make the best decision moving forward for our students and our community. Please, we are pleading with you and we are begging you to bring SROs back to all Santa Rosa City middle school and high school campuses. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Next is Serena DeBaca, followed by Julia Stewart, followed by Teresa Jepson.
Good evening. My name is Serena. I have had 2 sons graduate from Maria Carrillo, and I have a daughter that's a sophomore. As of 3 years ago, school is completely different for my high school student as it was for my boys. So I'm here to talk to you about bringing SROs back on campus. Instead of discussing why they were taken off so swiftly, I want to move forward with the security of our children being the only thing that matters. Our jobs are to protect these children, and what we are doing is not working. Actually, things have gotten worse. I know countless parents have spoken up, given suggestions. I've been to several of these already. They've even passed on information about grants that can help pay for SROs on campus. I know that you have heard, I know you've heard us. So many questions to you have been why? Why else is this happening? What needs to happen for you to put their safety first? It's time to bring back SROs. We can't wait any longer. Our teachers and school staff are stretched too thin. And I'm glad, Omar, that you brought up the fact that your schedules are you guys are busy, and I respect that. But taking a few months off of vacation is not prioritizing, just travel the world for months on end is not prioritizing these kids. You guys took this off swiftly, and I think it's time. It's been 7 months since we lost a student. It's time to swiftly put SROs back on campus.
Thank you, Serena. Next is Julia Stewart, followed by Teresa Jepson, followed by Scott Kincaid.
My name is Julia Stewart. I have 3 children in the Santa Rosa City School District. I am part of a group of parents, teachers, students, and community members that have come together for safer campuses, namely reinstating the SRO program back to middle and high schools in Santa Rosa. We know that the board and parents have the same goal, and that is to create a safe and welcoming learning environment in our schools. The threats of violence are a distraction for students and staff. By returning SROs to our high schools and middle schools, we are taking a proactive stance to address the pressing issue of school safety. It is imperative that we provide our students with an environment they can thrive in academically, emotionally, and socially without constant fear of violence. We need SROs back on campuses to be an extra resource, to provide staff training, to help build community and police department relationships, and to encourage students in addition to the primary benefit as immediate emergency response. People think twice before threatening the safety of our students if they know that there is someone on site that has the job of being vigilant protectors of our students. Our students and school staff deserve a safe learning environment. We trust that you will make the best decision for our students and our community. Please, please bring back SROs. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Next is Teresa Jepson, followed by Scott Kincaid, followed by Amy Worrell.
Hi, I'm the parent of three Santa Rosa City Schools graduates and a current senior. And I'm here to speak on behalf of putting SROs back on our campuses. This is probably the fifth or sixth time that I've spoke on this topic. And I sat on a Zoom call back in the 2020-2021 school year to speak on behalf of keeping them. And I think that it is time to reinstate this program. Even though I have a senior, I want to speak up for everyone that still has children that will be in this system going forward. Tonight, I like to say that this board focuses on numerous initiatives designed to enhance the educational experiences of the students in this district. As a parent, I wish that the same focus was placed on listening to the community's plea to have SROs reinstated. There are a lot of open positions that need to be filled within this district, as we've heard tonight. And I can't help but wonder if SROs were reinstated on our campuses and safety restored, more people wouldn't step forward to work in our schools. Schools that we send our kids to every day and that current teachers, staff, and administrators go to every day. Superintendent Trinnell just gave an update on the staffing for this year compared to last. A glaring omission to me was that in 2019 and 2020, every middle and high school campus had the presence of an SRO, and today we have none. In the 2022-2023 school year, tragically, a student lost his life, another one's changed forever, and countless others were traumatized at Montgomery and across the district. It is my hope that the 2023-2024 school year will be the one that the board rights a previous wrong and puts SROs back on campus.
Thank you, Teresa. Next is Scott Kincaid, followed by Amy Worrell, followed by Tara Hackett.
Good evening. My name is Scott Kincaid. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that you bring the school resource officers back to high school and middle school campuses. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my wife, Amy, our family. Our daughter is currently a junior at Montgomery High School and an alum of Slater Middle School. Our two sons are graduates of Montgomery High School and alum of Slater Middle School. My wife, too, is a graduate of all of those schools. Do not allow perfection to get in the way of progress. The schools and community cannot withstand another tragedy, yet daily we teeter on the edge of it. I plead with you to approve the SROs on campuses now. Continue with the ad hoc committee to evaluate the impact and make recommendations for change to improve the program over time. SROs are the missing link in a well-developed system that you and the community have created. Unfortunately, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. No SROs equals the violent chaos that we are currently experiencing in our schools. SROs are well-trained professionals in many aspects currently missing in schools and can only assist to make the school administration more prepared, along with making the campuses more safe. In turn, the school resource officers get an enriching experience that is far different and more rewarding than their day-to-day professional experience as police officers. The additional programs that you have made available on campuses, counseling, mental health support, and adult community influence are the correct and necessary resources for those that need assistance with obstacles such as a reluctance of having an SRO present on campus. The SRO program is a true triple bottom line. It's a win-win-win for school, students, and community. The time to act is now. Seconds matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next is Amy Worrell, followed by Tara Hackett, followed by Olive Blaine.
Good evening. I would like to apologize that you have sat through this comment a few times tonight already, and you will hear it many more. But we too have busy schedules as parents. So my name is Amy Worley. I am a parent of 2 students in Santa Rosa City Schools, and I am also an educator in Sonoma County. I am a part of a group of parents, teachers, students, and community members that have come together for safer campuses, namely reinstating the SRO program back to middle and high schools in Santa Rosa. We know that the board and parents have the same goal, and that is to create a safe and welcoming learning environment in our schools. The threats of violence are a distraction for students and staff. By returning SROs to our high schools and middle schools, we are taking a proactive stance to address the pressing issue of school safety. It is imperative that we provide our students with an environment that they can thrive academically, emotionally, and socially without constant fear of violence. We need SROs back on campuses to be an extra resource, to provide staff training, to help build community and police department relationships, and to encourage students in addition to the primary benefit as immediate emergency response. Please, people will think twice before threatening the safety of our students if they know that there is someone on site that has the job of being vigilant protectors of our students. Our students and school staff deserve a safe learning environment. We trust that you will make the best decision for our students and our community. Please, please bring back SROs.
Thank you, Amy. Next is Tara Hackett, followed by Olive Blaine, followed by Jim LaFrance.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I am a parent of a 2023 Santa Rosa City Schools graduate, and then 2 more students who are high school age, one in ISP because she does not want to be on campus, and another one that opted not to be in Santa Rosa City Schools because of what he had experienced the previous 2 years. I am a part of a group of parents, teachers, and students and community members that have come together for safer campuses. I am also an educator in Sonoma County. I am asking that you reinstate the SRO program back to middle and high schools in Santa Rosa. We know that the board and parents have the same goal, and that's to create a safe and welcoming environment for their students. The threats of violence are a distraction, and it's both to students and staff. By returning SROs to high schools and middle schools, we're taking a proactive stance to address this issue. And I wanted to say that it's not enough to only have officers at special events. We need SROs back on campuses to be an extra resource always, or all the time, to provide staff training, to help build community and police department relationships, and to encourage students. This piece of relationship gets missed when SRPD is only on campus contracted for certain events. I think that the information that was shared tonight about what makes students feel safe or unsafe was super valuable and eye-opening. And I also wanted to remind this board that it was asked in the 2021 school year how parents and students felt about SRO being on campus, and they overwhelmingly said that they felt more safe with them on campus. Thank you, and please bring back SROs.
Thank you, Tara. Next is Olive Blaine, followed by Jim LaFrance.
Hello, my name's Olive Blaine. I'm a student at Montgomery High School. We need to start preventing gang violence much younger than high school. We need to be educating young students on how to avoid joining gangs and make sure they know that they have other options. And to keep students safe in our current situation, I also want to advocate for SROs on campus. Initially, I was against having SROs on campus out of fear that it would escalate the situation. But after the events on March 1st, Montgomery was assigned a police officer named Luigi. What made Luigi different from other police officers was his background in therapy and his ability to connect with all students. It made him a resource that provided safety instead of fear. We need to have SROs that will have one-on-one connections with students to form a relationship of trust. We already have campus supervisors that have this relationship with students, but they do not have the correct training to deal with this type of violence, to deal with the type of violence that we are experiencing. Please make us feel safe again.
Thank you, Olive. Next is Jim LaFrance.
Hi, my name is Jim LaFrance. I've been a teacher in Santa Rosa City Schools for 29 years, and I've been a parent of a Slater and Montgomery student for the last 8 years. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I just came from the Santa Rosa Town Hall, and there was some information there that I wanted to share publicly with the board in the hopes that this might bring everyone to the table. And Olive stole my line because I didn't want to talk about SROs. I want to talk about Officer Luigi, because for Montgomery High School, we are a campus that had an SRO, and his name was Luigi. And Luigi built relationships, so many relationships on our campus last year that when he came back this fall, the kids swarmed him. BSU ran a poll to see if there was support for SROs on campus because there were concerns. Olive mentioned this. Many students were concerned about SROs. They saw everything that happened in 2020 with George Floyd on as well. And 93% of the students, I believe there was 800 or 900 students participated, 93% liked Officer Luigi and wanted him to stay. To be honest, we all thought he was going to stay. As staff members, we were shocked when Officer Luigi wasn't brought back because our understanding was Roosevelt University Prep wanted Officer Luigi on campus. We thought it was a tussle. I was going to have to like arm wrestle Raul Guerrero or something for us to have Officer Luigi back. So the reality was we thought he was going to come. We thought he was going to be there, not an SRO, Officer Luigi. And that's the power of what these officers can do. It's not just Officer Luigi, it's Officer Mari, it's Officer Rick. It's the people that we've had over the last 29 years that are our ADs. Officer Mari was a coach at LC Allen when he was there. So these people become part of our community when they're on our campuses. So why did I want to speak when I have totally unprepared statements that I don't even know want to talk about? Is because the city council said that there's one impediment for why it's not happening is funding and our board not coming to the table. Natalie Rogers said she's part of an ad hoc committee and she's inviting us, the Santa Rosa City School Board, to the table to talk about the funding of how to make SROs back and part of a comprehensive plan. Mark Sapp, our city council member from Montgomery and Slater, said he knows it is not just about SROs. He knows it's about multiple levels of community support. Multiple levels. There's no way. If anyone thinks that an SRO is going to be the only thing that's going to fix this problem, they're sadly mistaken, because this is not just about busting bad kids. Because I don't believe there are many bad kids. I don't believe that. I believe there's lots of hurting kids, there's lots of broken kids, and they need to be held accountable, but it has to be multiple levels. And our city council and our mayor, Natalie Rogers, is willing to come to the table, invited our school board. Mark Sapp and Natalie Rogers said there's one impediment. Just an hour ago. One impediment. The Santa Rosa City School Board is the one impediment for this conversation happening. And that's my request. Go to the table. This is what they said in their meeting. That's all I'm repeating. This is what they said. There's one impediment. I would invite you to join them at the table. They're asking you. We are asking you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFrance. Those are all of the blue cards we have this evening. Thank you to all who spoke with your issues and concerns. I want to acknowledge that the distressing incidents that have occurred in our schools recently, we are really concerned about the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community, and it's very important to us. And I just have to say, I wasn't going to say this, but I feel like I need to now, that our board has been at the table with Santa Rosa City Council and with Mayor Rogers and with other folks, with our city manager. And so that is a very concerning thing to hear. So I just want to say that right now. We deeply empathize with the fears and concerns that students, caregivers, and teachers are experiencing, and we take these issues seriously. We are actively engaging in a collaborative effort with the Santa Rosa City Council to jointly develop solutions aimed at improving the safety and security of our schools. Our joint effort includes the discussion regarding the presence of school resource officers. This partnership enables us to work together towards creating a safer environment for our students, staff, and community members. Our district staff has been working to build an improved working relationship with the Santa Rosa Police Department to ensure that we are jointly working effectively within the confines of the law and education code and communicating better, all in the interest of enhancing school and community safety. Earlier this year, we've heard Superintendent Trinnell share with us multiple times about the Safety Advisory Roundtable, which comprises students, parents, community members, teachers, site administration, and district administration. Together, they have diligently worked on developing a strategic plan with a commitment to the following 4 pillars: safety and security, mental health and counseling, communication, and transparency and facilities. We understand the urgency of this matter and are committed to doing everything within our power to provide a secure and nurturing learning environment for our students. We want to express our deepest gratitude for the willingness of our community, all of you who shared with us just now, to share your concerns, many of which align closely with our own. Your dedication to the safety and well-being of our school community reaffirms that we all have a shared purpose, the safety of our students, staff, and community. And we thank you for coming tonight and sharing your concerns with us. Thank you. That concludes our public.
President Manieri,
Yes,
can I
go
say
ahead.
something? First off, Mr. LaFrance, thank you for sharing what you shared. I really want to be, I don't want to be in this position, but I reached out to the mayor and I sat down with her to get us to start meeting back in April. We finally only started meeting at the beginning of September. It took a long time to get that started. Safety and security means very different things to different people. People that look like me experience safety and security in different ways. I do not want to talk about SROs right now, but I want to say that we are at the table. And yes, we're a group of people that are very busy, but I am very committed to safety and security, and I can meet multiple times a week. I'm available. Because I was brought up and somebody mentioned me, I just want to make that very clear. I'm very committed to talking about safety and security. I'm very committed to these kids, and I'm here to get this work done. So I just want to make that clear. If people are under the assumption that it's me, that's not available. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Medina. This concludes our public comment section for the agenda, and now we are on our F items. These are our discussion and action items for tonight's meeting. F1 is an action item approval of resolution recognizing the week of the school administrator, October 8th through 14th, 2023. The board will consider this approval, recognizing this week, October 8th through 14th, as the week of the school administrator. I will hand it over to Dr. Roger Castro.
Thank you, Board President Manieri. Good evening, Board President, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, and the students, teachers, and community at Santa Rosa City Schools. Can I ask the administrators that are present to please stand for a moment, please, while I do this? It's a distinct honor for me to put forth this action item. Administrators are among the hardest working, yet often least recognized individuals in education. Administrators set the academic tone for their schools, departments, and divisions, and it is their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the mobilizing force for students having equitable access to educational programs and achieving success. Santa Rosa City Schools and the Board of Education seeks to honor these unsung heroes for their tireless efforts in pursuit of excellence in education for each and every student. Tonight's requested action is that the board consider approval of resolution number 2023-24-17, recognizing October 8th through 14th as the week of the school administrator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castro. Are there any board member questions about this resolution? Okay, seeing none, we will, oh, sorry, Director Flores.
I just want to say thank you, because in order to have a functional school, right, we have our teachers who are heroes, right? But in order to have a functional school, we need leaders within that school to make sure that they're riding the ship, right? So I just want to say that without your leadership, right, our policies and our vision wouldn't be implemented. right at the site level. And I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do. We don't say thank you enough, but I just want to go out of my way and say thank you.
Yes, thank you. I have no blue cards, so we do not have a public comment for this item this evening. So this comes back to the board for any further comments, discussion, or a motion.
Just a motion.
Just a motion.
Just a motion. Unless there are questions, comments. Move for approval of resolution 2023-2417, recognizing October 8th through the 14th as the week of the unsung heroes, our school administrators.
Second.
That was moved by Director Sheffield, and I think I heard Director Flores first. Oh, that was Director De La Torre. Thank you. So that was moved by Director Sheffield and seconded by Director De La Torre. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you. And Superintendent Trinnell has a few words.
Of course, and I want to acknowledge everyone who was here before who had to leave because the night is getting longer. And I want to thank those who are with us in person and those who are with us online. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm so honored to work with such a dedicated group who is in the arena with me. And we are in the arena with you to do this work. And so my heart is so full. Words can't express just the gratitude and love and care that we have for you, and know that we are with you and trying to find all of the ways that we can support you so that students and families and staff can be supported. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One more round of applause. Item F2 on our agenda is an action item, approval of resolution proclaiming October as LGBTQIA+ History Month. And I am going to hand this over to Trustee De La Torre.
Thank you very much. I will not call anyone out and ask them to stand, but I do like the room to know, and those listening, that I do this with all of my heart to honor the two brave young women that are part of this community that I have the pride to call my daughters. And it is not only for my daughters, but it's for our friends and our family that are part of this community. And it is for those children that still live in fear and do not have a safe space to fully embrace the community they are part of. So, that being said, this resolution would recognize and celebrate and build awareness of the support for our LGBTQIA+ community. The consideration is LGBTQIA+ History Month. It commemorates the impact that the community has had on local, national, and international history, and honors members of the community who have been lost to hate crimes, HIV, and AIDS. The district supports policies, practices, and curricula that honor and respect LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and their families, and ensures that our schools are safe and affirming spaces for all members of the community. By reaffirming support, our schools open communities to foster friendships, allyship, and advocacy of rights throughout the whole school year. Across the globe, events are held during this month to recognize the influence LGBTQIA+ people have had on our society and to celebrate diverse identities. So I ask that this board approves the resolution for proclaiming October as LGBTQIA+ History Month.
Thank you, Director De La Torre. Are there any questions from board members? No questions. We will move to comments after we announce public comment. We have no public comment. I have no blue card, so now we may discuss. Director Medina.
Thank you, President Manieri. I just want to highlight the critical importance of not just this resolution, but of standing strong with the LGBTQIA community, because ACLU is tracking over 500 bills that are anti-LGBTQIA, and more I see things happening within school boards, specifically in the state. And so I think that we need to stand strong. We need to support our community and also recognize that there's still a lot of work to do. And I call myself an ally, and an ally is not just having a friend that's part of the community. It's doing something and taking action. So I just also want to highlight that and recognize its importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Medina. Are there any other comments or a motion? Director De La Torre.
I would like to make a motion to approve a resolution proclaiming October as LGBTQIA+ History Month.
Second.
That was moved by Director De La Torre and seconded by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you. Item F3, approval of resolution proclaiming October as Filipino American History Month. And I will hand this over to Superintendent Trinnell.
Thank you, President Manieri, members of the board, who are with us in person and online. I'm honored to bring forward for the board's consideration, resolution number 2324-22, recognizing October as Filipino American History Month in Santa Rosa City Schools. Our Filipino community here in Santa Rosa, in Sonoma County and beyond, have a rich history in the culture of our state, grounded in activism, grounded in the love of our community. And I, as a granddaughter of a grandmother who was half Filipina, I am very honored to continue to bring forward this resolution to honor those in our community, my own family and beyond. And really am proud of the work that we continue to do with ethnic studies and making connections in our community and within our students, families, and staff. With that, I'll ask for your consideration.
Thank you, Superintendent Trinnell. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. I have no blue cards, so this comes back to the board for any further discussion or a motion.
I move to approve the approval of resolution proclaiming October as Filipino American History Month.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Flores and seconded by Director Medina. Roll call vote, please.
Can I just make a friendly amendment that we add the name of Philip Veracruz to the history of the UFW? That includes the beautiful work of Larry Itliong, but it was those two powerful Filipino brothers that pushed the United Farm Workers into existence and who made the first grape strike, the historic grape strike in Delano, actually possible with their fierce, radical, powerful, and incredibly super organization and a vision towards true liberation for farm workers in the state of California. So he rests a little bit prouder and higher if we just make sure that we say his name.
Director Flores, do you approve or accept that friendly amendment?
Of course I do.
I do as well.
Adelante. Que viva Philip Veracruz.
Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director McNally.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you. Item F4, approval of first read and potential waive of second read for Board Policy 6174, Education for English Learners. The Board of Education will be presented with recommendations for revising and updating Board Policy 6174, Education for English Learners. And I will hand this over to Director Llamas and Dr. Castro.
Good evening, President Manieri, Superintendent Trinnell, and members of the board. This evening, we present to you a revised and updated Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 6174, which is for our English learners. And this is in response to the federal program monitoring audit that took place in the 22-23 school year. And this is part of the work that we have to do to the corrective action with regards to this board policy. In the board policy that was adopted, I believe in November of 2019, there was an error with a number of years that a student should be monitored once he or she has been reclassified as a reclassified English proficient student from 2 to 4 years. And also along the way, we've looked at the updates that CSBA recommends.
Thank you, Director Llamas. Are there any board member questions? Seeing none, we'll move to public comment. I have no blue cards for this item, so this comes back to the board for any further discussion or emotion. Director Medina.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the policy posted on our site, and I just want to clarify. So here it says it was last revised October 6, 2023. So, and then on our policy thing, it says last revised November 13th, 2019, originally adopted October 16th, 2019. So I just want to clarify, is that October 6th date just hasn't been updated here on our website?
The October 6th is the date that we posted it for the board to review. So that was technically when it was last revised. The actual adoption date, should the board choose to adopt it tonight, will be revised to tonight's date.
Okay, and so the only thing that I'd like to just edit, just because this is how I go back and look at things historically, if at the bottom where we have the history of it, if we make sure we have the October 16th, 2019, the November 13th, 2019, and the October 2023 date, as well as today. That's how I look back at board meetings to see things that have happened in the past.
That has been noted. Any other discussion? Okay, we are seeking a motion on this item.
I'd like to move to approve Board Policy 6174 and waive second read.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao. Aye. Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally. Aye. Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you so much. Item F5 this evening is a discussion item, Facilities Master Plan. The board will hear an update on the progress of the Santa Rosa City Schools Facilities Master Plan, or otherwise known as the FMP. And presenting this action item are Lisa August, Eric Oden, and our partners at QKA.
Good evening. Thank you, President Manieri, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, and our Santa Rosa City Schools community. I will go ahead and actually hand this over to our partner, QKA, Aaron Jobson. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you all for having me here. Happy to give another update on the facilities master planning process as Lisa shares the slides. Perfect. Okay, so we're getting close to the end and we wanted to give you an update on what we've been working on, what's coming up, and kind of a couple areas we wanted to get your input on. Next. So just a quick overview of the schedule. In the spring was kind of our information gathering period. We had site committee meetings at every school site. We also updated the educational facilities guidelines that are kind of our benchmark that we use for each type of school. And then we did demographic and capacity analysis as well. Over the summer, we took all that information and really kind of processed and used it to start planning, developing draft site master plans, developing preliminary project lists. And then as we've gone into the fall, it's been kind of the review and finalize period. So we've had a second round of site committee meetings at every school site. We've gotten input from you all. We're working on next steps of community forum presentations and finishing up the documents to bring a draft back to you in about a month. So the things that we've completed since the last update, we're really focusing on those site committee meetings. So that's a lot of work. It takes about 6 weeks for us to get through every school site and have that meeting with representatives from all of the community partners. We have also, the district asked us to bring on a consultant, Guidepost Solutions, to do a more detailed security and threat assessment for each school site. So that team has been finishing that up. They actually just sent us a draft of that report last week, which looks at both facilities and infrastructure aspects of safety and security, and also operational. And they did site visits at every school site, including showing up and just testing things out, but also talking to administrators, getting an understanding of what the operational environment is, as well as the physical environment there. And those recommendations on the physical environment will be incorporated into the facilities master plan. And then the other piece really was taking the demographic analysis that we talked about last time I was here back in July, and working that through and understanding the school site capacity for each school and figuring out how we right size each school so that we're providing the spaces needed for the programs and the projected enrollment, but not trying to spread the money that we have too thinly across too many facilities, and having that conversation at each of the site committee meetings too. So currently what we're doing is finalizing those school master plans based on the input that we got from all those site committee meetings, developing project lists and descriptions for each site. We're working on the cost estimating for that as well. So starting to put construction and total project costs to each one of those projects. And then we'll be updating the indicators of quality, rubric, and scoring for each project, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. And then we're getting ready for community meetings, which will happen at the end of the month and into November, which we'll talk about in a bit too. So one of the key parts of the site committee meetings, one of the key parts of that agenda is really getting some input on that from that team on what's most important to them of all the projects that have been identified. And we use this pretty simple matrix on the right-hand side of the screen here to do that. So really we looked at, there's kind of two axes to these. Across the bottom, there's cost from low, medium to high. And we put the little digital post-it for each of the projects, and we kind of pre-sorted those for them into the cost buckets because that's kind of our area of expertise. And then asked for their input on impact, low, medium to high. What are the projects that are going to have the biggest impact on students, on teachers, on the community, on education? We got a lot of really good input from that, and we thought we'd just give you kind of a quick overview of what that looked like for each type of school. So for our elementary schools, one thing that rated pretty highly, pretty universally was security, safety and security. And really that is kind of looking at access control, figuring out how, after students are on campus and before they leave for the end of the day, how do we make sure that we have a controlled point of entry, that we have controlled access to that school site so we know who's coming and going from each school. Every school has a little bit of a different condition. We want to balance that with making sure that we're still providing an inviting environment, a place where that's welcoming for everyone as well. So that was something that was really important to every group. And then really modernizing the existing permanent buildings, recognizing that our existing school buildings need a lot of work. There's a lot of things that are worn out, and there's some investment that needs to be made there for them to continue to serve that community well. Another thing that really resonated with a lot of the sites was expanding our administration areas on elementary school sites to provide adequate and appropriate space for all of our service providers and partners. A lot of the positions you guys talked about earlier around psychologists and therapists and counselors and TOSAs and things like that. And a lot of those are now kind of just in whatever space happened to be available when that position was created, whether that was an extra portable or a closet or a conference room or any number of things. And one of the things we talked about is, is, maybe taking a classroom that's next to the existing administration and then actually renovating that into space that's designed for that purpose, so that each school site, has a few offices for those, has some larger offices for TOSAs where they have space to work and work with small groups of students, but they don't necessarily need a whole classroom for that because they're really working with maybe 6 or 8 students at a time, not 20 or 30. And then also having meeting rooms where we have conference rooms on each site where they're big enough to have an IEP with 8 to 12 folks in there, and not kind of cramming them into a room that's meant for half of that. So that was a key thing as well, and something that we plan for at every school site. New TK and kinder classrooms on most elementary school sites. There are a few new classrooms that need to be built to replace some of the portables, and where we're doing that, we're proposing that those be TK and kinder classrooms, because the schools don't have a lot of buildings that are really designed for that have the little bit larger classrooms that are recommended, as well as the dedicated restrooms for those facilities. And as we get closer to full implementation of transitional kindergarten, where we have more 3- and 4-year-olds on campus, those restrooms become having those restrooms readily accessible is more and more important. And then kind of some simpler things about, replacing the portable classrooms that need to be replaced and getting rid of the ones that don't, renovating playgrounds and fields, providing covered eating areas for students. Those were all pretty high priority items across elementary schools. Thanks. Middle school, so some of the things are pretty consistent across all the school sites, like the top 3 there of security fencing and access control, the modernizing the classroom buildings, the existing buildings, expanding administration to provide support staff, removing portable classrooms. Most of the middle school sites have plenty of capacity without the portable classrooms that we have now. So I'm not really looking at many new buildings at those school sites, really just looking at how we can use the existing permanent buildings to better serve the programs we have. And then also providing covered eating areas there for students as well. At the high schools, again, security fencing and access control, modernizing the existing buildings, expanding administration, those things are pretty consistent across the board. Probably our 3 highest rated things at almost every meeting. Again, at the high school as well, really we're looking for the most part at removing portable classrooms. Montgomery High School is a notable exception to that, where there are many more portable classrooms at that school than there are in any of the others. So there we are looking at, new classroom buildings there to replace some of that, including the plan for the one that's already been designed that was incorporated into our planning as well. And then providing covered eating area and improved quads and courtyards for students. So providing better spaces for student gathering, for informal, studying activities, for just places for students to hang out, both in larger groups for social events, but also quieter spaces where students can go and get away from things a little bit and have a little bit of respite, a little bit of calm as well. And then providing spaces that support CTE and other career technical education and other specialized programs, so we have appropriate facilities for those as well. So one thing we want to talk about a little bit is one of the challenges that we have in a program like this is we're gonna finish a facilities master plan, and we all know that's going to identify quite a bit more need than we have funding from measures C and G. And we have a lot of projects across many different schools, and we need to kind of have a way to compare those and figure out which are going to be the most important. And so when we did the master plan back in 2015-16, we came up with this kind of protocol or rubric. I think I'm using that word correctly, but I always nervous about that amongst a bunch of educators. Of evaluating each project in these 6 different areas to assess the impact of that project on education, what's going to be that impact in each of those 6 areas, and then apply that to all the projects. And that becomes a tool that we use to figure out which projects across the district are the ones that should be implemented with the money we have. It's one tool. It's not the only tool that we'll use for that as a team to make those decisions, but it is an important way to kind of compare projects across different sites. So this is an example page from the previous master plan that kind of shows a couple different projects and how those might rate in those different categories for, in this case, at James Monroe Elementary School. So this is kind of what we're proposing for the 2023 master plan. Just a couple of changes to what that rubric was, really to increase the weight to the learning environment quality and decrease a little bit the weight to maintenance and operations. And a couple of reasons for that. One reason for that is we've done a lot of work on the school buildings and addressed some of the most urgent maintenance and operations needs as far as HVAC and roofing over the last few years with the Measure I&L projects. So that's not as quite as, emergency of a need as it was last time. As you can see, it's still pretty heavily weighted, but it is not quite as critical. So we thought we could shift that a little bit to emphasize the learning environment quality a little bit more. Go ahead.
I don't know, is this like an error on the slide or these numbers on the third and fourth one? The 20 and the 30, should those be 30 and 20, or am I just not understanding how this works?
No, it's an error on the slide. You're right.
Okay.
That was me shifting those two numbers and forgetting to update the bottom total. So the way it works is we score each project on a 1 to 10 scale, and then it gets multiplied times that weighting factor to do the total. So the IOQ 3 should be 10 times 3 is 30, and vice versa with IOQ 4. Thank you for noticing that. So I think one of the things that we've been looking at, if you can go back for a second, is just this is an area where it'd be good to get a little input from you all on, and if this seems like about the right weighting of these 6 different factors to you, or if there's one that seems like it needs to be emphasized more or less than we're currently proposing. Next. So our next steps are really to complete the cost estimating and indicators of quality for all of the projects. We're gonna have 5 community meetings across the district in late October and early November, and then we'll be pulling all of this information into a draft facilities master plan document that we plan to present to the board on the November 8th meeting. And give an opportunity for you to review that and give us some comments on that. In the meantime, we'll be developing the Measure C&G implementation plan. So that's really identifying which projects from that master plan do we propose to fund with the money from Measure C&G. And then bringing back that final master plan as well as the implementation plan to the board at the December 13th board meeting. And then assuming that's approved, get to work on Measure C&G projects and start moving those forward. For the community meetings, we're holding 5 meetings at each of the 5 high schools, 5 comprehensive high schools, with a group of schools at each site. The agenda is pretty straightforward, which is to give an overview of that facilities master plan process, talk about the next steps and where we're going and kind of what it will look like as we move into designing and building these projects, and then give an overview of the facilities master plan for a group of schools in that part of Santa Rosa. These are open meetings to everyone. We're working on a flyer that we can send out through all the district's channels, which of course will be bilingual as well. And we'll have some opportunities for feedback during that meeting, which we'll do through a live digital polling system so that folks can input, kind of give us their thoughts, and it shows up live on screen so everyone can see that during the meeting. We'll have Spanish translation as well, and we're working on hopefully trying to provide some childcare and snacks and things like that to make it as open and supportive as possible. Yeah, Director Medina.
I just wasn't sure, would they be available like via Zoom as well, or?
At this point, we're planning to do these entirely in person and try to make them as open and accessible to folks in person, but we're not planning to do them digitally at this time.
I just have an additional question about the community meetings and what type of outreach we're doing, how are we promoting this, and maybe there's opportunity for Audrey to connect students to participate and be involved.
Absolutely, that would be great. Mm-hmm. So these are the 5 meetings and the schools that will be grouped in there. They'll happen between October 30th and November 9th. We are kind of, and I think we pretty much finalized the actual dates for each meeting now, but we hadn't when we put this slide together. So those are all done, and I think hopefully within the next week we'll have communications out about these to be able to start broadcasting on Parent Square, on district websites, distribute through the schools. You all can help get this word out into the community too, to try to get as many folks there as we can to give give input and understand what's going on and kind of what the next steps are with the master plan and the bond program. That's pretty much it. That's where we're at right now. And yeah. So we'll open to any questions, any input on the indicators of quality or any other aspects of what we have going on.
Thank you. I see Director De La Cruz's hand for questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation and for, really the focus on our community engagement process and really hearing from folks. One of the things that I want to lift up here is also a recognition that we have, in particular, the French American Charter that has some significant safety concerns. Is this round of the plan going to address that school, and where are we in terms of community engagement with the site, and really making sure that we're getting in front of the level of communications and concern that we know is really prevalent, right? Rightly so, in that community.
Thank you very much for your question, Director De La Cruz. We've had multiple meetings with their site committee, going through some options, and we have been having conversations about what some alternative locations may be. We do need to do additional outreach to some of those specific communities so that things aren't blindsiding. And again, what we have shared at each of these meetings is that this is for a long-term facilities master plan only. So any recommendations that are in here for potential movement or anything of that nature, it's really in relation to long-term facilities. That doesn't mean that it's set in stone. It doesn't mean that it's that we are going down that path without having additional community input and weigh in, and separate process. If we're talking about any type of relocation, that's actually separate from planning for the facilities themselves.
Okay, excellent. And then I think connected to that, but also really important, is that we have a beautiful special education program with facilities that are unique for the kinds of classes and the kinds of supports required for those kids. And I just wanted to see, like, where are we really seeing those kids, and how are they reflected in our plan? What of those IOQs, where do they fall in that continuum?
Yeah, that's been definitely a topic of conversation as well. We've had a lot of conversations with Steve Mazzara, with his staff around, that's one of the things I said about the administrative spaces, where sometimes those programs come up and they get kind of stuck wherever they have space for them. That's kind of true of special education a lot of times too. And so one of the things that we talked about is let's think about what really makes sense as far as distribution of these facilities across the city, as far as how they might be grouped and clustered to best serve students, not necessarily just based on what space is available. So that work has all been done, and we've had a few discussions around that and kind of what was best, and then filtered that through all the site committee meetings and figuring out how that fits in, and had a kind of final wrap-up meeting with Steve just a week or so ago to make sure, good double check and make sure, okay, here's what we're planning at this school site for this program, and so on and so forth, and confirm that we kind of have everything covered and that it fits in with what makes sense from the facilities. And there are a few changes as we went through and looked closer at the capacity analysis as we talk to different school sites about what would make sense. And then each of those will be identified with its own project. So if we identify a special education cluster at a school and it needs a certain set of improvements, that will get that indicators of quality applied to it in the same way that every other project does, but give it a chance to reflect that its unique impact on students and the unique needs that go with it.
Thank you. And my last question is, my kids went to a school where the school therapist was in a broom closet. So I think it's also, right? You remember that one? Yeah. As we line up our priorities with our values on prioritizing mental health and, safe spaces for kids to heal and to figure out how to engage with, their peers and with adults in their lives in a different kind of a way. Where is that is that a separate project? Is that kind of rolled in across all of the indicators of quality? But I love the idea of us really thinking about how are we also building safe spaces, structurally.
Yeah, I think each campus, as we mentioned, one of the higher rated items was really expanding that administration area to identify to support those services. And that'll be a project that gets rated on that indicators of quality thing too. So it'll rate pretty highly in some of those areas for all the reasons you just described.
Okay, excellent. So not just TOSAs, like TOSAs and therapists and, space for kids to come and decompress and, I don't know, sit in a beanbag somewhere and squish out the stress. Some of the coolest rooms that teachers have, really provide some of that sensory safety and that kind of ability to, not be in what feels like a pretty traditional classroom. And I certainly see the impact on kids who react differently to a different way of being at school.
Thank you. Any other questions? I see Director Flores and Director Delatorre.
Thank you for your report. And I want to start with a couple of thank yous. And I noticed in slide 6, 7, and 8, you discussed the ability to expand on places for faculty for support staff to meet in order to do SSTs, IEPs, 504s, right? Those ancillary sort of programs, interns to be at. That was one of the suggestions I made to my district a long time ago when they renovated. They didn't listen to me, and now we're looking for places to do those sort of things, right? Because we don't have them. So thank you for listening to our staff to make sure that those spaces are available. Has there been any discussion about transitional kindergarten in any of these talks?
Yeah, absolutely. At every elementary school, that's been a topic of discussion, and the demographics analysis planned for full implementation of transitional kindergarten as we're projecting enrollment into the future as well. And that's something that we looked at each school site. Based on that projected enrollment, we calculated how many kinder and transitional kinder rooms we should have on each site. And that's a place where when we came to, we need 25 classrooms in the site, and we have 22 in this, in the existing buildings that we want to modernize and renovate. Then those 3 additional classrooms are new transitional kindergarten classrooms, because we don't have most of the elementary school sites have 1 that's really set up that way, and they need 4 to 6. And so that's where we're really looking at. That's a feature of many of the elementary schools, is some number of new transitional kindergarten and kindergarten classrooms.
And just so you know, I asked this question when transition kindergarten was becoming, we were going through the implementation phase of it, right? And one of the responses I received from our staff was that we didn't have the space. So that was very alarming, right? So I just want to make sure that we're not caught with, not being able to provide the space for this new program that we have to provide. Especially given the ratios are so slow, right? Low, 12 to 1 or something like that. So I just want to make sure, or 10 to 1. I just want to make sure that that it's in the discussions and in our program. And in terms of, I just want to piggyback on what Director De La Cruz mentioned. Any discussions on wellness centers, since it sounds like our community schools grant has been, this is where we're, trying to go. Has there been any discussion as to how to utilize these funds to create wellness centers, or are we just going to recycle or renovate spaces that we have already within our schools? Or has it not been discussed yet?
I believe that that will be one of the things that will need to be identified as far as specific. That's a school site specific idea. And so I can let Erin explain more on what those discussions have been, but it has definitely come up through many of the site discussions.
Is what I wanted to answer this, but the one thing I just don't want it to be, it's like a competition of space, right? This should be in addition to, a welcoming place for our students, right? So I just want to make sure that we are forward thinking and that we do not push anyone out of their space, and that we create spaces where wellness centers will thrive, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's something that we talked about, particularly at the secondary campuses. about, having appropriate spaces to provide those kind of services and be able to bring in community partners and things like that to serve students and their families.
Dr. Delatorre.
I just had a quick comment, and I'm sure it's being taken care of, but I noticed it wasn't recently, so I just want to bring it up, that the little things aren't overlooked as well, especially when we're talking about redesigning and changing spaces. There's a space on the campus I was at for back to school night that originally was not designed and built as a classroom, and now is a classroom. There's no exterior lighting. So I got a teacher out there with a cell phone light trying to get families in and out of the classroom. That's obviously a concern. So just that we're being aware and understanding of the internal and external changes, as big or small as they may need be when we're making those changes, that these are still welcoming to our families, and knowing that we do have back to school nights in the fall and it is dark, and we don't necessarily think about that because school's during the day, but we have events at night too, and we got to be aware of the lighting and camera as possibilities.
One of the things that we make sure to talk about at the end of each meeting is that although we're getting to the end of the engagement process for the facilities master planning, once a project is identified and we decide to move forward with that, there's a lot more engagement that happens then. We're not going to have the detailed conversations at this level about the lighting for that, but when we're redesigning that classroom or that part of campus, we will. And having time to have that more detailed input with those specific teachers and the custodial staff, of course, too, and Eric and his team around what's needed in very granular detail for those specific projects will happen once those projects get into design. But we try to communicate that at each meeting too, so that folks don't think, this is the last time they get to have input on anything.
And tied to that, Guidepost Solutions did a night survey too. So they were at our campuses at night. So included in this will be a report generated by that. So that ought to give some input to us as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just like we are all talking about forward thinking and just trying to have those little bugs in our ears, so it's not pieces of the process that get missed. But great presentation. Thank you guys for your time and effort and bringing all this information to us again tonight.
Director Medina.
Thank you, President Manieri. Thank you for the presentation as well. Director Flores took some of my questions around community schools and how that's being considered. But in the meeting that was at LCI and around the education track, one of the things that we discussed was, I think at one level of the course, is students being able to observe young kids. And we talked about potentially at the new facility where the admin office is on 211 Ridgeway is. I think there was talks about building like some sort of pre-K facility. And I just wanted to add that one of the ideas was to maybe have some sort of component there that kind of tied into that program that was similar to the thing that they have at the JC, where students are able to observe children in action. So something that could maybe be considered as we look to develop new teachers coming from our district. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to public comment. And I have one blue card for this item, and this is from Lucinda Moore.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board members. I have written feedback from a colleague. My issues are with extensive support needs students needing the use of restrooms. The portable restrooms flood during the winter and are in poor condition. These restrooms are in the portables on their side of campus, and they are no longer sufficient for the medically fragile RISE, which is the autism classes, and the extensive support need classes, to use the restroom and for changing for PE. Slater Extensive Support Needs Services classes have their own restrooms, a full kitchen, a washer, a dryer, and a classroom in the classroom. And the ESN teachers at Comstock think a solution to making things more equitable to the Comstock ESN kids is to be able to access the other closed restrooms by the lockers near that side of campus that are not currently being used, and were put behind locked cages while CCLA was still there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda. Okay, this comes back to the board for any further discussion. I see Director Medina's hand.
Yeah, I did want to also ask, I've noticed, I think over the past year, we've consistently had like plumbing issues in different places. And is there work that's being done to really analyze the need for work to be done on that? I was just in the bathroom at a campus, and there's a sign on the door that says, "Be careful with the bathroom. It's not really working very well." That's all it said. What that meant, I don't know. But I think something that I would like to know that we're doing something about to at least understand what the issue is and that we're going to follow up on.
Yes, we are. We're doing some studies now, but part of this implementation plan is a line item for infrastructure because everything that's underground is as old as the school. So they're all failing worse underground than what you see above ground. So it's definitely a high need.
Thank you.
As you know, we get a lot of emails, right? Is there a priority list in terms of what sides are on top of that list because of sewage facilities that have been, not updated in such a long time?
Yeah.
And where is it, if there is such a list?
Yeah, it's on the deferred maintenance list that we have. Yeah, and I think we're giving an update to the board in November.
Thank you.
Director Medina.
And I know nothing about plumbing, but I'm curious if there's, I don't know, advanced technology that allows us to maybe capture a lot of the junk that gets thrown down there and somehow consistently remove it. If there's anything like that somewhere, because it seems like that's a big part of the problem. People just flush all kinds of stuff down there.
Yeah, you got yourself $1 billion idea, but yeah, that is the problem with a lot of our lines is it's not necessarily the lines on some parts, it's what people are putting in there.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. We really appreciate all the updates and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This brings us to item F6 on our agenda, discussion item on West County Transportation Agency. We are going to receive an update on the status of West County Transportation, which provides busing services to Santa Rosa City Schools. And presenting this action item are Lisa August, Eric Oden, and Chad Barksdale from West County Transportation Agency.
Thank you, President Manieri, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, and our SRCS community. We welcome Chad Barksdale with West County Transportation to provide an update on our services this year. I'll share my screen in just a moment.
All right, thank you for having me again this year. Good evening, board and Superintendent Trinnell. What's being passed around we'll kind of talk about a little bit at the end, but it's a study that we had done at West County Transportation. Before I get started, I always like to put my 2 cents on master facility plans, and that's because I'm logistics. I always think, well, it's got to be the drop off in the pickup area, right? Not just for buses, but the parent traffic, which is a huge deal in most schools nowadays. Thank you for having me. Chad Barksdale, West County Transportation Executive Director. I'll go ahead and I have a short presentation and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. Quickly, what I haven't done in the past that I thought was a really good idea this year is to kind of express how our summer school went, summer school / ESY, extended school year for our special needs students, plus several other summer programs, some of them that are newly mandated by some of the funding that each school district's receiving now. But just a quick overview, we had 78 routes. On a normal school year, you'll see soon we're about 103 routes. So there's no such thing as summer school break anymore. It's pretty much year round now. 57 of those were sped. We had 16 gen ed, and we have several programs that we support that take kids on field trips, and we're able to combine 5 routes that just go from site to site to site to take kids to these programs. We transported 625 sped students over the summer, which is a record high, which is typically, I think we ended the school year right around 926. So you can see that the ESY programming for schools in the summer is becoming more and more a part of the daily, weekly, annual thing for our special needs students. In 2022, our ESY numbers were 511. So, and we also use only 78 buses. So we're getting some better use out of the school buses. And that I have to make special thanks to Michael Raymer. Oh, he stepped out, but he was a key part to that transition with the summer school program. I thought that he played a key role in communicating between West County Transportation to school sites with Steve's team, program managers on getting the information. And I think it reflected, and I think Steve can contest, a really good summer program. I also want to make special thanks to the staff at Santa Rosa City Schools for their support, communication, and their flexibility. One of the things that made summer school successful and our ability to only have 78 buses, but more than 100 kids from last summer was the tiered bell times that we had between elementary and secondary levels. So it allowed us to use the same amount of buses to transport several more students because we had that tiered system in there. So I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the same type of scenario next ESY. Routes and staffing. Here's a quick comparison of where we're at now. We have 47 special needs ambulatory routes where kids walk on and off. Currently have 10 that are uncovered by a regular driver. Sped wheelchair, 12. 4 of those are uncovered by a regular wheelchair driver. We have 20 vans, either in a white van or a white school bus. We don't have any openings there. That's a good thing. Gen Ed, we have 33 routes and 2 uncovered. Actually, I think we recently had 1 pass their test, so we only have 1 uncovered on the Gen Ed routes. In comparison, so it's 112 routes total, 16 of them that are uncovered. We have 20 standby drivers. We currently have 17 of those, so we have 3 more openings. So we have a total of 132 drivers that we need and 19 openings. If we looked at the net change, we increased 2 routes, but we have a change in open routes by 7 less. So really we have a +9 in our coverage and our staff between last year and this year. Continued on with staffing, our current trainees, we have 11 driver trainers, which is significant this year, which is much higher. 2 of the trainees are bus aides that we've convinced to upgrade into a school bus driver. 5 bus driver trainees are currently in the white vans. So we are able to continue employment and have a way for them to earn money while they're trying to train and become a school bus driver, which is a 2 to 3 month process. We currently had 4, when I developed this, we had 4 in training that were doing the original classroom. They all in the near future, if not beginning next week, will be in the white vans or white buses to help support our shortage. And we're fortunate enough to have 2 retiree bus drivers that still want to work. However, they are limited on time because that waiver that the Ed Code provided is now expired for classified employees. I do know that there's I think it's a Senate bill or an Assembly bill on the docket to have this be changed for certificated employees because they are in high need. I was a little disappointed that they didn't also include at least some positions in the classified section in the bill that are a high need, for example, school bus drivers. Recruitment, we continue to increase some monetary hiring incentives, paid program training solutions, which is a key to changing our pass-fail rate from 50% to 100%, or really close to 100%. We have year-round training classes, and in the past, they were scheduled once or twice a year. We learned that if you have somebody that comes and applies for a class, and if you don't have a class in a fairly decent time, they'll move on. And so we're doing frequent classes so that we don't lose candidates. We offer 10, 11, and 12-month positions for our drivers and school bus staff. And then this last negotiation go around, we did modify and improve our salary schedule, which is reflected in our trainees that we have now. Some of the actions that we're doing to mitigate driver shortages, we have standby drivers, which are the 17 or 20 positions that we have that are dedicated to support for either open routes or absenteeism. We have the 2 retired subs. We have several licensed staff members within our agency in our operations office that help support the coverage. We do continue to have a reduced time window of availability for field trips and activity trips, and it does decrease the options for schools for needing these field trips and activities during normal route times. We do have a handful of students, mostly actually all transition students that are on contracted service. We found that this contracted service that we use, obviously they're highly vetted and meet requirements the same as our staff do. But it helps transition the student and the parent into what would typically be a scenario that they would use in the daily life. Continue to recommend bail time changes. That's a tough thing for an agency like ours when you have 17 different school districts. Obviously the bail times affect the ability for one bus to time and distance to maximize the student capacity. It would reduce routes, help offset driver shortage. There would be a cost savings. It more likely increase the normal day in FTE for each student or each driver because the routes would be a bit longer. So it would help with some retention and it would significantly improve service. These are some school districts and organizations that have requested assistance or membership due to the lack of drivers. Most of them we are supporting either doing maintenance on their vehicles, providing a vehicle because they don't have one, or in some cases that we will provide a field trip as long as it is mostly on a weekend or within the time that we do not impact our own members. Just to give a heads up to you as a member of the agency, we did have a discussion a little bit about this today in our board meeting, and I wanted to reassure that to our members that for us to consider, we would not be considering any new membership until we can fully support what we have. And I'm committed to that. To me, it shouldn't be a discussion item until we can make sure that we're providing what we're supposed to provide to our current members. Ridership, special needs. Special needs always starts really low at the beginning of the year. Here's a little bit of history of how it trends. We started the year in 21-22 with 764 and had 75 routes. Actually, we ended the year, we started at 650. So there was more than 100 increase between the start of the year and the end of the year. 454 of those were Santa Rosa City schools, and there was, roughly, there were about 30 or so kids increase. Last year, we ended the year at 926 with 77 routes. So we had a significant increase. We were able to fit those in and partly because programming changed quite a bit to where we could maximize the space within the bus. We only had to increase 2 routes. But again, the trend started the year at 835 and we had roughly 100 students increase. Santa Rosa had a big jump in students that year. That was, a pickup year, I think related to post-pandemic stuff. So we had 535 Santa Rosa kids, and they did start the school year at 485. So there was a big jump between the start and the end of the year. This year we are at 881. We have 79 routes. The 881 will likely increase to 100 plus. And so we'll, for the first time ever, probably be at or more than 1,000 students. Currently, 502 Santa Rosa City School students, likely to increase roughly 50 kids by the end of the year. No, I just want to have just a quick update on general ed. That's okay. And I think this is important too, because it's related to issuing of bus passes, which is something that we're really pushing this year. Currently, we have 739 students with bus passes. In 21-22, our ridership count was 1,100. So we're well short of issuing bus passes to all of our students. We currently, let's see, 665 issue bus passes. I don't know, I think that's what Santa Rosa City Schools currently has between all schools. Yep. Route challenges, again.
Sorry, can I just go back to that? So are you talking about bus passes to city buses? Is that what's
No.
included in your
No,
calculations?
I'm sorry. No, there are school bus passes for the school bus. It's a card that we issue to each student. They scan on and scan off. I didn't put a slide up here, but we're doing a big push on getting every student school bus passes. And one of for several reasons, one of them is safety and accountability on our end. We get several calls sometimes where, where's the kid? And we don't know because, they might be on the bus. They may have got off the bus with a friend. Most of the time they got off the bus with their friend and didn't tell their mom and dad. So, but this will allow us to say, yeah, Johnny got on the bus. And they didn't scan off the bus, so they're probably still on the bus, even though we're asking, where's Johnny at? A lot of times they're nervous. They don't respond.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I was just.
Yeah. And one other thing that's priority there is, and I'm sorry to make you keep going back, but it's important to note on the bus passes that with the new funding model, there's going to be data that's required in your auditing process, and you're going to be asking us to provide that data. And this is key to helping provide that data of ridership and eligible riders. Route challenges, this is the same as last year. There's just an overwhelming number of schools that want the same time. And, I can't blame them. It's part of being a JPA, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge that impacts routes, and it impacts the number of schools that we can support with one bus. One of the challenges I think that was most challenging is that middle school bell time this past couple of years that changed to 2 o'clock. So I think that was a challenge. However, like I said before, bell times are your prerogative. And I think is partly why I have school districts are members of JPA, so they can have that way of making those changes, and hopefully we're here to support that. And if we can get staffing, it wouldn't be an issue. The other thing that did increase some routes, actually it made us, it didn't increase routes, but it made us flat, considering the number of students that we are transporting, was the secondary bell time mandate between 8 and 8:30 between the two secondary schools. That's it. Okay, before I open it up for questions, I thought I would bring up a few things that were topics last year that you brought up, and maybe I can answer some of those before. One of the things that's a topic at our JPA is the electric school bus. And before you is a study that we had done in 2020, and I thought it would be good reading for you because it will provide some information on the feasibility of our agency going to electric school buses. You know, it was in 2020, so there has been some changes, but it's mostly accurate. One of the major things that's not accurate in there is that the school bus that they recommended that would meet the needs of the routes that they chose, that we chose to evaluate, is no longer manufactured. So we're currently stuck in a hard space with the number of bus manufacturers and the limited miles. However, it does provide some opportunities for the agency to consider with some significant thought on how we move forward with infrastructure and the selections of routes that we put them on. There are some significant challenges associated with it in developing a plan, staffing it, and looking at the infrastructure that would support the school bus we need. They do recommend some changes to our route scenario, which would increase routes. So that's usually not an option at the moment, given the staffing concerns. However, as an agency, as a JPA board, we are having discussions, agenda items related to this. And in fact, just in June, the board did designate some funding for future EV so that we can look at potentially putting in some infrastructure prior to receiving school buses.
I'm looking forward to looking into this study. I'm aware that the governor just signed legislation with a 2035 date for school buses to go electric or zero emission.
Did it get signed?
It did get signed.
Okay. I didn't know it made it
over the
through yet.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Sinorama. Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's timely that the study comes out, but it is something that all the schools, all the JPA need to consider.
Yeah, and technology when it comes to EV is constantly changing, and it's changing fast, and it's changing for the better when it comes to school buses. That it's met some significant requirements in the non-school bus field. For example, the Tesla truck can go almost 500 miles completely loaded up to Tahoe and back without a charge. Well, school bus can't make it more than 100.
Yeah, but maintenance is a lot cheaper. You're dealing with less
It
complicated
is. Well,
parts and-
yeah, it is. So you think about it, I think one of the challenges that we have is that we don't consider the purchase of a school bus or the infrastructure in the cost because it's grant money.
Right.
Operational wise, yeah, there's some cost savings that you could obtain. The difference between diesel per gallon and the kilowatt usage that you're using to charge. The study will show, there's a savings of just under $300 per vehicle. And there are some credits that we can apply for in the electric world. So operational wise, yes. One of the challenges that we're running into with school buses is that we will have to obtain or get infrastructure that's fast charge. That's the only way we can make these work because there's not enough time in the middle of the day to get a charge. What that does to the battery, though, is that it reduces if you use a fast charge every single day, in 8 years, you can only go it reduces it down to 80% charge. So now your 100 miles you can go is only 80 miles. And so you have to start considering replacement plans at a sooner rate. And is there still going to be grant money, or is there, though currently you have grant money that's available to help replace compressed natural gas tanks because they age out and that they're still near zero emission. They're going to have to start making some grant funding for battery replacements, but packs, so that you can get quality use out of the actual bus itself. And technology, like I said, is changing. You know, the goal for the battery industry is to recycle. They currently don't have facilities or the technology quite yet to do that when it comes to lithium, but I don't think it's too far away. One of the other challenge by meeting the 2035 mark is there's just not enough mines out there producing lithium to meet that goal. So there has to be a lot more mines opened. I just recently read a study that in order to meet 2035 California goals and the nation goals moving forward with EVs vehicles, that there'd have to be over 300 new lithium mines opened up. And so I think that's also a environmental challenge that the industry has to overcome, because the mining is still mined the same way other materials are mined, coal, and you know, they either dig a big hole and work through that, or they do evaporating ponds to get, and they pump water in the ground and they add chemical to the water, and then when it gets to the right color and crustness, they let the water evaporate, and they take that and they make lithium slurry out of it and make batteries. So I think it's coming, and I think as an agency we have to figure out how that's going to work in. There's no longer an option right now for a diesel bus or a compressed natural gas engine, because Cummins was the only engine manufacturer, and they pulled out because they just got tired of trying to meet the California EPA requirements, and they just said it's not worth it financially for us to continue. So California, where we used to get 100% of our big buses on compressed natural gas and grant funding, thus not even an option anymore. So that's another thing that the agency has to consider moving forward in its school bus replacement plan. So yes, that is a topic. We'll be bringing it back again next board meeting, and it's a discussion item, and potentially creating maybe a committee relative to that. The other question that I know that I might get tonight is about training, culturally responsive or culturally sensitive and diversity training. I just wanted to let you know that as a board, we are going to be in the near future putting that on our agenda to have a discussion with our board and how and if that as a collective group, we would want to present that to our staff. So I want you to just let you know that we were going to have that on our agenda. And last but not least, I think it behooved me to address some of the SRTA questions that they had. I did not provide the budget update, but I'm more than willing to provide one for you, and I can give it to Lisa so that you all can have that. Breakdowns per student costs is fairly easy with special needs. It's a little more difficult in the gen ed because of ridership or the lack of known riders. It can be done. It'll just take some time to develop because we'll have to do a physical count versus a count on enrolled students until we can get all of our students with school bus passes. Let's see. We have 33 general ed buses. Last year, one of the topics was talking about on-time percentage. And so we have not done an evaluation this year, but last year at the same time, we did an evaluation of our on-time delivery of our gen ed buses. And we were well over 97% of on time in our gen ed buses to Santa Rosa City Schools. Let's see. Currently, our best way to communicate with families when we have a delayed or an uncovered route is to communicate directly through our dispatch. So our dispatch calls families and lets them know and gives them a estimated time when they'll be back to pick them up. That question is yours. I don't know if you want to, yeah, there's that question. The other one was supporting field trips. Yes, we, as in my presentation, stated that we are still having a challenge or restricted timeframes of supporting field trips. I personally have seen an increase to our ability to do that, and that's basically as it relates to our increased staffing. However, when we have attendance issues, which is pretty typical in the transportation world, it does impact our ability to support field trip activities. You know, the home to school transportation reimbursement is still TBD. You know, obviously, I think that there's going to be some audit findings, some audit rules that we just don't know are coming out that may have recommendations and how that transportation plan and the impact of your plan to the audit process and if we're meeting those goals or within that funding model. I think that's good. Yeah. All right. I am ready for any questions that you might have. It's empty now.
Thank you, Chad. Are there board member questions for this presentation? I see Director Flores' hand. And Director Medina.
Thank you. I think you answered some of the questions that I had in my docket here. So, and just for the record, you know, I just want to reiterate what the rationale and purpose of the presentation was. The board will be updated on the current status of the busing through the West County Transportation Agency, including associated costs, right? But you did mention that you were going to bring that up next time. Okay, so I just wanted to say that that was part of the presentation and I didn't see it. But thank you for answering that question, right? So my follow-up question I have is, which I asked the superintendent here, I just want to make sure that it goes in the record, is what is our JPA agreement with West County per year? So I know that was something that we saw a few board meetings ago, but I just want to make sure that we bring it to light here because this is, you know, it's relevant. So do you happen to know that number?
I'm sorry, Claire, are you asking for the cost?
The cost of our JPA agreement with West County.
Sorry about that. It does vary based on our actual percentage of ridership. And now with the reimbursement of the 60% of our costs that are reimbursable, that will vary. We did have that back last spring, so I'll need to bring that back to you. We'll be happy to provide that as an information item.
Yeah, just to add to that, in the contract, it doesn't say you are X amount of percent. It varies based on the Santa Rosa to the total of the JPA. And so it compares, for example, the number of special needs students that Santa Rosa City Schools in comparison to all members of the JPA. And currently that's really close to 60% of the students. So in a rudimetric way is that you cover 60% of the special needs budget as a result of your 60% for the JPA as a result of your 60%.
And this is, I don't know if we were able to address this, but one of the issues I had during the pandemic was that we wrote a check for $500,000 with zero ridership, right? I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if it's associated with ridership, right? How close is it, or is it, or this money is already allocated despite of the ridership?
Well, I could think, I can do a comparison for you. So we create a budget. We're a public entity and we create a budget. And we create the budget based on costs associated in the past and expected costs going forward. And then we take that budget and we spread it between all 17 members, and then it's funded. Like, for example, during COVID, we had 0 riders. But we still had to pay our employees and we still had those expenses, just like a school district had. So while we didn't have as much expenses and we did give a refund or a deduction in costs, we still had the same number of expenses regardless. So here's another example. If we have 1,000 kids, but this year and then next year we only have 900, and if it takes 78 buses to do both 1,000 and 900, the cost to the agency is the same in staffing and things like that. So it's go ahead. Yeah. So it's based on ridership, but it's also it's also based in the comparison to the total and then what the budget is approved. So we approve a budget as a JPA, just like a school district.
So my suggestion to the district would be, these sort of things are foreseeable, right? And I know we need to extend the meeting. Should I just make
You can finish your questions and we'll do that.
But let's just be cognizant of, the expenditures that we have had, right? Just because it was back then, it was a tough pill to swallow, knowing that we had 0 ridership and we had to still pay, $500,000 during those, I think it was a 4-month or 5-month period. But anyway, so I just want us to think about this in terms of, our fiduciary duty to make sure that we're not overspending. And then my last comment, actually, I just want to say thank you. I do run the SRCS, Adelante program. I'm the program director, and I had a lot of complaints last summer. I had 0 complaints this summer because you guys did a phenomenal job. You were on time. You were very professional. You were, you were very, friendly with our students. I just want to commend you for doing that. And you heard our changes, and I just want to say that out loud because I'm usually very critical of folks. So thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you. Before we move on to Director Medina's questions, we do need a motion to extend the meeting.
I move to extend the meeting till 10.
10 is the
10:30.
Second.
great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions? Any abstentions? Okay, the meeting has been extended to 10:30 p.m. Director Medina, your questions.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on field trips. I did speak with the staff member today that was concerned about the inability to really get a bus, and when they could, it had to be it was very limited into the times they could get it, and having to try to get one from another place, they were getting quoted like $4,000. And do we see, I know there's the staffing issues, but any hope or for when we could do that, because it's impacting the opportunities that we could provide students?
Yes, I agree with you. And it's challenging for me to have that restriction, but it's for me, I have to say, well, do we transport kids to and from school for their educational purposes, or do we do a field trip? Because what's happening is that we put that restriction there because we don't have staffing. They have to come back and do a PM route, or they couldn't get there until 9 because they had to finish the AM route. Because we don't have another staff to cover that route. So we would have open routes as a result of that. And that's why we restrict those times. And I do know it impacts the opportunities that students have. And I frequently hear from my wife about that all the time because she works in Cotati Roanoke Park School District, and so does my daughter. And so she'll request a field trip, and I'll have to tell her no too. You have to do it between this time. And do I see some improvement? I think we already have seen some improvement in our ability to increase the numbers that we support within that time. We'll have 2 pages on a Thursday of field trips between all the members. So, he's talking about, 40 trips between or more, whereas we couldn't support that before. So we have seen an increase within the availability of increasing our numbers between that time. But as far as opening that window up, it hasn't happened yet. But I do anticipate, I'm positive in my positive thinking that yes, I think we're going to have some improvement. I've already noticed the improvement as you saw from our current number of trainees. 11 is pretty high since I've been in this agency at one time. So we're starting to see some people come over and seeing our work environment. I do think that the negotiations help with some of the folks that we are getting now, and we're competitive. So in the word's getting out. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to public comment, and I do have 2 blue cards. The first speaker is Catherine Howell, and the second is Lucinda Moore.
Hi, good evening again. I want to thank Director Medina for his question just now about field trips, because that certainly is the #1 complaint that I'm hearing about the busing this year. And I want to read a couple of comments that some teachers have shared with me. The first is from an elementary school teacher who says, the company we're currently using for busing has informed us that we have a very limited time frame for field trips. We have been told that buses will not arrive till after 9 a.m. and return times have to be before 2 p.m. This actually narrows the field trip opportunities for our school. I have had to forfeit several field trip opportunities this year due to timing issues. We should not have such narrow timeframes for our field trips. Our kids are missing out on valuable experiences due to the company we are currently using. And the second comment is from Kamala Brown, a teacher at Elsie Allen High School. She says, I'm trying to take my students on field trips last year, and this year I've come up against the major roadblocks of the bus company. We can't leave campus until 9 a.m., and we have to return by 2 p.m., meaning we have to leave wherever we are by 1 or 1:30. We have to pay a lot of money for the bus that is barely useful, and the field trip seemed like a waste of money because there is the cost of the trip plus the sub, all for a trip that is only 3 to 3.5 hours. And they're a private company, so presumably they're making money off the district, but can't provide basic services. They say they can't hire drivers, but somehow they can still make a profit. They need to pay their drivers more so they can hire more of them. For a Link Crew conference this year, we were having to hire a private bus, which will cost $2,400, which we are asking the Elsie Allen High School Foundation for, but that is not sustainable for more than 1 field trip a year. The district and society in general is asking us to prepare students for a 21st century world, which means having real world experiences that we barely get them off campus because of the bus company. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howell. The second speaker is Lucinda Moore.
Thank you for our busing for ESY. This is the first year our admin did staggered start times, and for the first time of teaching ESY over many years, the buses were on time both to and from school for ESY, and it was beautiful. Sometimes having rotating bus drivers had the potential to be difficult for SPED kids to process. They needed consistency, and those bus driver relationships were key to the students. For the fall of 2023-24 school year, I have had 2 students in first period, and they are tardy 14% of the time they are present with their special ed bus. I also had a student started school on basically what was the second week of September. Paperwork back and forth took time, even though it was already in the student's IEP, and we already knew they needed busing before the start of school. So why did it take 15 days for the student to finally get a bus to school when we already had SPED buses coming to Comstock? This has now tanked the student's attendance rate to 62.5%. Since the students started getting busing, They have only been absent once, and it was for an excused absence. Thank you to the Santa Rosa City buses for having free city bus rides for all K through 12 students. I appreciate their partnership. My students who are able to take public transportation city bus independently have received the skills from riding the city bus that I taught them during extended school year. And their access to public transportation is integral to them getting themselves to and from middle school on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda. Those are all the blue cards I have for this item. So this comes back to the board for any further discussion or questions.
I just have a follow-up question. So I know you mentioned more about what you're doing to mitigate the lateness and to ensure that we have available buses for field trips, right? What is a short-term sort of solution that your board has come up with, and what is the long-term solution or ideas are you thinking about making sure that it's implemented so we don't have this, or we have some sort of resolution by the end of the school year?
Our board, we do a discussion about this. We are starting a few committees relative to, for example, EV chargers, things like that, that are our priority projects moving forward. Short-term solution is trying to find outside carriers. And that's become the other challenge, not just financially, but also they don't have the qualified drivers or enough qualified drivers to support. So it takes a special license for like California Wine Tours, for example. They have to have what's called a SPAV license. And so the driver has to have special training and that certification in order to transport students on trips. So that has become a big challenge with the third-party carriers right now, especially post-COVID. So that's also a challenge that we run into, that short-term solution. So it's kind of, it's not the best short-term solution. The primary mission of the agency is to transport students to and from school for their educational purposes. And I'm not so sure that we haven't talked long-term solutions, to be honest with you. The ultimate goal is to be increasing staff, and then that's going to improve and open up availability. The biggest problem and challenge that we run into is the staffing, is just not having staffing. And so, like I said earlier, that I'm starting to see some improvement in that. There's a definite improvement between last year's numbers and this year's numbers. So, hopefully that long-term is much short-term as far as increasing our staff to open up the door for that. I'm happy to bring it to my board and have a discussion with bouncing some ideas on how we can improve this, both short-term and long-term. There's not a whole lot of options, though.
Director Medina.
Thank you, President Manieri. I don't know if this is for Superintendent Tranel. I'm curious in terms of addressing, for example, this issue with field trips. Is there a way that we could look at other available funds to help these schools and teachers and staff that are trying to get field trips done to somehow help fund that? Because that's what obviously is being part of the problem. Because this isn't an availability, they have to go outside where it's more expensive. I know, for example, the field trip, I think tomorrow to UC Davis, they were lucky enough to get a grant from 10,000 Degrees to help pay for that. But I think we need to be able to do more somehow. I think in the temporary, as a temporary solution, and can we do something to try to find more funds to help these groups that are looking for funding? That's my first question.
We can absolutely look at what our budget priorities are, because we still only have one pie. And if we start cordoning off more funds in one direction, we're going to have to look at where we remove funds. So it will just be a matter of that discussion.
And I think the other point that I'd like to kind of make as we like look into the long-term scope of what we do and our policies, I think we also need to look at where students are going to school, like away from their local community school. I think there's not only impacts on transportation and the use of buses, but also like traffic congestion and environment, so many things. So I think as we look at some of those things around community schools and what that means and where students go to school and our policies around allowing students to transfer outside of their own area, I think we need to look at that collectively to try to deal with some of these issues. That's all.
I echo that. Any other discussion on this item? Great. Thank you so much for the presentation and for staying with us till this time. We really look forward to the next presentation. And thank you so much for, this is actually really interesting and I really appreciate this reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our consent items for this evening, we are looking for a motion on consent items 2 through 14.
So moved.
I just wanted to, I'm going to abstain on item 3.
Abstain on item 3. Okay, we
So
will make
maybe if
note
we
of
could
that.
approve
So can we
items
do?
1, 2, and then 4 through, yeah, just pull
Yes,
item 3.
can we have a motion on items 2 and 4 through 14 first?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Medina and seconded by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao. Aye. Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally. Aye. Director Flores.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. And now we need a motion for item G3.
Move approval of item G3.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Sheffield and seconded by Director Medina. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao. Aye. Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Abstain.
Director McNally. Aye. Director Flores.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Now we are on our H item, seeking a motion for approval of item H1, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held on September 27th, 2023.
Move approval of the regular board meeting held on September 27th.
Second.
Thank you. That was moved by Director Sheffield and seconded by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao. Aye. Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director McNally. Aye. Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Item H2, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held on October 2nd, 2023.
I'd like to move to approve the minutes of the special board meeting, October 2, 2023.
Second.
That was moved by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Wait, I'd like
I'm
to,
sorry.
I'd like to request that it's amended to include the attendance. I don't see the attendance. Who attended?
Okay.
I have to abstain, but I don't see that anywhere.
Okay. So that was moved by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Sheffield with a friendly amendment by Director Medina to include the attendance.
Approve the amendment. Yes, I accept the amendment.
Great. Roll call vote, please.
Director Rao. Aye. Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director McNally. Aye. Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Abstain.
Director De La Torre.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Item I on our agenda, board member requests for information. Are there any requests this evening? Director De La Torre.
In case it wasn't clear during my report, I would like to request what current partnerships and contracts we have with SRPD. So that information is available.
Thank you. Any other requests this evening? Okay, seeing none. Our J items this evening are listed in our agenda packet. We have 8 for folks to review. Before we adjourn, Superintendent Tranel, are there any last announcements?
No, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Meeting adjourned.